I'm gonna take a minute to come out. When you feel the rain and the graveyard shout, everybody rocking at the great Jackalope. Feeling phantom, running slow, feeling motion on a toe. They go moving round like a talking radio show. Turn off the news, turn off the news, fill up the table. Tell the neighbors you can't come here, not able. I had to find me a spot where the juggalos rock. A moonlight shining on a dark summer night. Everybody's rocking at the great Juggalo bar. We're just trying to catch a good time, even if it takes all night. And pass that bottle around that campfire and sip on apple pie moonshine. And we picking on them guitars just right. Everybody singing Dixieland delight like a bobber on that wet line. Yeah, we just trying to catch a good time. It's 80 degrees and the sun ain't even now. We got a spot a couple miles out of town. And when that moon comes up, you know it's going down. We got them folded chairs leaning way back. No other plans other than relax. And we ain't worried about tomorrow from where we at. We just trying to catch a good time, even if it takes all night. Pass that bottle around that campfire. Sip on apple pie moonshine. And we're picking on them guitars just right. Everybody singing Dixieland delight like a bobber on that wet line. We're just trying to catch a good time. There's something about a night this clear makes your problems disappear. We just gonna stay right here and let the world go by. We're just trying to catch a good time. Hey, how you doing? But yeah, man, I'm hanging out. That's the slow period in the day where there's not gonna be any orders pretty much until about 4. So I figured I'd do a live stream for a couple minutes. Still planning on getting the extra phone. Just I don't know. It's kind of a pain in the ass. I can't run the DoorDash app and live stream at the same time. My phone just is not capable of doing two things at once. So it either wants to shut down the live stream or close the Uber, or if I switch back to, constantly, having to do the reconnecting thing, and you know what I mean, you lose people when it's just spinning revolving wheel because you're constantly having to switch apps on one phone. So I finally, wised up to that. I realized I got to go get a second phone. But yeah, I got to pretty much take about a week to do that, make that happen. You know what I mean? But pretty much I'll just live stream my whole entire day doing the Uber driving. Whether I get orders or not. I might even dual app, something like that. Kind of keep it. I'm from Florida, man. I'm currently homeless. I'm not trying to be forever. Like, this is the third time I've been homeless pretty much throughout my life. And I've always kind of, like this last time I was pretty much living with a girl for like the last 9-10 years. We were building a house together, trying to play house and do our thing, work and pay for everything. But yeah, just the amount of time, she just got tired of me after, that long. And there's a bunch of different little things, you know what I mean? Like a thousand little problems that turned into like 3 really, really big problems. And I didn't like it where we were. We kind of, during COVID, I was working in a kitchen before COVID, and then COVID hit, lost my job pretty much because the sales, there's no tabletop restaurants going on. So pretty much lost my job, moved up to Ohio, and I hated it like the whole time. I mean, the first month or so it was it was different. It was cool to be out of Florida, because Florida, it's hot as fuck. You know what I mean? It's just I'm dripping buckets. I'm sitting in the shade. I got my car AC on. You know what I mean? You can only fight it so much. That's kind of the reason I wanted to go to Ohio. You know what I mean? Plus, there's like a big Amish community up there and stuff. So it just would have been cool to check it out, see it, see something different other than the state of Florida. But then I kind of got stuck up there for a while. It ended up being like 5 years I was stuck up there. You know what I mean? I'm from Florida. But yeah, and then she knew I was homesick. I was just trying to leave more than anything. I was trying to get out of the state as fast as possible because I just felt like I was dying twice as fast in the state of Ohio. Plus the water quality, like coming from Florida, like where we have so much fresh water that just pumps out of the ground naturally every day. There's like millions and millions of water that comes out of the ground. Ohio's water is all there from a glacier that melted X of thousands of years ago. Like Ohio's water tastes like there's blood in it or something. It tastes like really coppery. You know what I mean? It has this irony, copper-y taste to their water. You know what I mean? Plus all the houses up there, they're trying to sell you a house from the 50s or, God forbid, from the 1800s. They'll sell you a house that was built in like 1912, and then still try to sell it to you like it's a $250,000 house. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's just, I don't know. One thing or another, I just kind of didn't like the state of Ohio. I was waiting to come back. And she pretty much made it happen instantaneously. Not really her fault. I'm not trying to point fingers at her. Don't be mad at her. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I was wanting to experience the no bills living in your car life. You know what I mean? Kind of, sort of. It was always, if I didn't do it, if I weren't forced into it, I was always going to be thinking about it. You know what I mean? So, it's kind of, I don't know. But yeah, now I'm down here by myself. I'm trying to recreate a place for us here. If I can build enough solid ground for myself, maybe I can get her to come back down, because she wants to leave Ohio too. She doesn't want to be stuck up there. You know what I mean? Granted, we got a mortgage because it was cheaper to pay a mortgage than it was to pay rent, and then also smarter because that way you're actually putting money into, the price that you're paying to live there each month is actually kind of going back into your own pocket for later. Versus renting, you're just kind of letting somebody else make money off of your back. You going to work for the 8-hour day, 5 days a week, and then you give all that money. I don't know. I don't understand. It's like it's not slavery because they took the whips away, and they're giving us tickets, right? But with the amount of tickets that we're getting, we barely have enough to pay for our housing and then also eat. So, but so we barely make enough to pay for our housing and then also eat. So we have to pull out debt and then pay interest back on that. So we don't have enough money to live, in the moment, or you don't have enough. You don't have enough, so you have to like pull from your future purchasing power, And I don't know. It's granted it's a little different, It's not, you know what I mean. But it's, yeah. When everything costs more than you're actually making in the first place, I don't understand how it's really that far off, Because, you're going to work a 40, 50-hour week, and by the time you pay everything, you might even owe money. You know what I mean? Like, that's still not enough. So, I don't know. I won't go that way, because I feel like I lost a couple people, like, instantly left. But anyway, yeah, I'm homeless Uber driver for right now. I do have another job as well. I work in retail. There's not a lot of hours there because I'm like low man on the totem pole. I don't really know what I'm doing as far as cars. I'm there because they want me to try to learn. Like they assume I'm gonna learn from being there, which I have. I picked up a decent number. You know what I mean? Before I started working there, I knew that cars had discs, disc brakes and pads. You know what I mean? I knew that it was like kind of like bicycle pads, and a disc brake. I knew that, but I didn't know. I'm gonna say I didn't know what a pinion seal was. I didn't know the difference between like a wheel hub and a hub bearing. kind of, you know what I mean, you know, the bearing inside of the wheel, you know what I mean. I don't know. There's certain things I have picked up in the 16 months or so that I've been there, but at the same time, my lack of knowledge is kind of shooting me in the foot for actually getting hours out of them. So that's why I do the Uber on the side. You know what I mean? And the two jobs, they pair really nicely together because, you know, me being in a used car, 20-year-old car, if I do need to get a new car part, you know, say my starter goes out or something like that, or need a new alternator, we have mechanic friends through the shop, so I can I could probably get some kind of deal on, you know, mechanics discount or something. Plus, I can get the part for X amount of, you know, sometimes they give us 40% off on a car part, which that's a big chunk of change. It's, you know, like some restaurants will give you a free meal, you know, or, you know, you get lucky, you might get half off, or some restaurants only give you like 10% off. You know, like I'm working here, I only get 10% off. So, you know, you take the good with the bad. You know, like granted, if I was working at Walmart, I could get 10% off merchandise or whatever, something like that. But, you know, I don't know. Where I'm at, it's pretty chill. It's like an old man's job. Gotta take the dog out. Sorry to leave. I appreciate that, man. That's pretty much the reason I'm doing this, man. I'm trying to find an audience for myself, you know. Um, People have been telling me for years I should get into entertainment. I just never quite could understand how. You know what I mean? I don't know, you know, because I don't live in Hollywood or New York where, you know, you could talk to people and get there, you know, through work and, you know, determination. Where I'm at in Florida, it's pretty much like, do you want to get into HVAC, or do you want to be an electrician, or do you want to be a plumber? If you don't want to be any one of those three things, well, then we don't need you. You know, which is kind of sad, but yeah. But yeah, I'm doing my thing. Like I said, I like the way the two jobs pair together, because if something minor happens to the vehicle, you know, 20-30% off the part to get it, plus the labor, you know, sort of. You know, I can't guarantee it on the labor side, but we've got a bunch of different people that run, you know, a bunch of different shops that run through our business. I'm sure I could probably at least get them to compare price, you know, maybe compete with each. This one wants to offer me $100 less, I'll go to them, you know. But yeah, and then trying to create something out of the YouTube too, if I can. If anything does happen there, like I said, I'm not trying to be homeless forever. There's, you know, there's a lot of people out there, they do like helping homeless people. You know, they have a heart still, you know, in this world. But at the same time, you're wanting to help a homeless person that's actually like helping themselves. They're not just trying to be like a slug, you know, or a fucking crab, you know, or, you know. But yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to do, is just show people that I'm out here working two jobs, building from absolute zero again. You know, my idea right now, I'm trying to get a piece of land, because I've got like $7 that I've been saving basically since September, and I'm just trying to get like a piece of vacant land that I could park my car on at least. You know, then I won't be homeless anymore. I'll just be houseless at that point. You know what I mean? I'll have a home. I'll have, you know, like this is my own private land, you know, and I'll figure out how much trouble it's going to be when I get there. You know what I mean? So far as what I'm seeing, the neighborhood that I like, you know, it's kind of a quiet area. It'll be years before I have to worry about a Karen even noticing what I'm doing, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, and then like I've seen similar situations where the cops get called to a private residence. The cops show up, and then, you know, people have. I got in a fight with this dude earlier. Oh, he's like, oh, I never give the police my ID. Da 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 da. They don't need it. And I'm like, dude, you do realize like the only reason we carry an ID is like because it's there for state officials to, you know what I mean? Like, if a police officer got dispatched from his dispatcher to your location, and you're one of the people that are involved, part of his job is to do an investigation and take the information of the people that are there. You know what I mean? So like basically the only thing you're doing is like disrespecting the police officer, slowing him down and making him take more time to deal with, you know, probably what is a bullshit matter in the first place. He could be doing any number of other things, but he's got to sit there and dance around with you because you don't want to give him your ID so that he can finish his investigation and continue on to something else. You know what I mean? And I get where you're coming from. It's a violation of your rights. Oh, this, that, and the other. But you got to understand, the dude's just trying to do his job. He got a call to come out here. His boss told him he needed to go out there and do an investigation on what's going on. So that's all he's doing. You know, it's like, But then, yeah, the dude, I'm on someone else's page, made a comment. He comes over to my page and starts commenting on my page, and I'm like, okay, sure, bro, because the page, like, I was on a trolls page. I literally put a comment about, like, the only reason, it's kind of fucked up in a way that we even have to carry a plastic ID around with us. Like, all the information is like input in the computer, and they take a picture of us and everything, and then they give us a laminated plastic card that we're supposed to carry. But we already have a digital ID. You know what I'm saying? We just have a plastic form that we carry for some reason. You know what I mean? Like, basically, the fact that we even need to show them a plastic card is kind of like old school. You know what I mean? They ought to be able to just take a picture of us and then run it through, you know what I mean? It shouldn't even need, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just so fucking stupid. And that I don't know, people are just as fucking stupid. People are dumber than the system that they're in a lot of times. You know what I mean? Because really, is it really a violation? I mean, is he really violating your right to ask you who you are? And then, granted, he's in uniform. You can tell he's a police officer. It's not just like a scammer that's just trying to get your ID. You know what I mean? It's a police. Make his day easier so he can go on to something else. But I'll stop with that. But anyway. And then, yeah, the guy's like, why would I respect the police? And I'm like, okay, I understand that side of it too. You know what I mean? Like fuck the police. I get it. But at the same time, like, I don't know. It's like this. Okay, well, go ahead and disrespect the police and see if that ends any better for you. But yeah, pretty much, if the cops show up and I'm sitting on my own private land, all I would have to do is either show them where they can find the documentation. This is my private land. No, I don't even have a jerk mate. I was on Chatterbait for like minutes. We got a couple of gay guys popped in real quick, but yeah, no, I don't know. That's the first time I'm even reading Jerkmate. I don't know if it's .org or .com or .io or, you know what I mean? You got me confused with somebody else, apparently. But I get that a lot. People, I got like a common, there's a lot of fat guys, we look alike, all white people look alike. White people with brown hair look alike, white people with blonde hair look alike, white people with dark hair look alike. Like all genders kind of look alike, you know what I mean? And I don't mean ginger like offensively, I just mean it like descriptively, because you know what I mean. Some redheads prefer to be called gingers. You know what I mean? I don't know. Very few, I would say, probably because of the reputation, but hell. When you pick up stereotypes and run full speed with them, are they really stereotypes? You know what I mean? Or is it just your personality? I try to be, man, because you can't, what am I going to do? Just sit here and continue to get pissed on, or try to get out of the way, So I don't know. I feel like I said, I'm about halfway to being able to purchase land, and just have a place. I could just be sitting, on my own land right now instead of in the parking lot at Walgreens. You know what I mean? But I'd be doing much of the same, because I want to buy the land, pay it outright, have no debt hanging over my head ever again. I just want to pay for things outright, save up the money, and buy it outright. And you can't do that if the house is $300,000 fucking dollars. You know what I mean? By the time you save $300,000, it ain't gonna be worth $300,000. You know what I mean? By the time you save $300,000, it's gonna be worth maybe about what 100 can buy today. Right. That's what I was thinking. I appreciate you chiming in and saying that. Like, it's like, people that have a thick enough skin. That's the people I want on my channel anyway. You know what I mean? If you can't take a joke, you know what I mean? Because part of my channel is laughing at me. You know what I mean? I get that. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like iced the fuck out and like, They got that brrr on their motor. They're so iced out that they're cold. And they're and they probably see me and they're like, oh, look at this homeless fuck. You know what I mean? This guy's having a fucking Uber drive. But it's ultimately, man, versus minimum wage. I'd rather have the freedom of, because I can take the order, say whatever I want to say about the customer, you know what I mean, and then still go get the money off of them. Versus working like retail, I have to respect them to a certain point. Otherwise, they'll leave, or they'll go to the cashier next to me if they don't leave. You know what I mean? And part of my hours is sales based. So I can't, if I'm not getting sales, they're not going to put me on the clock. I feel like I'm pretty chill. I smoke weed every day. Doctor prescribed. I pay my dues to the state. You know what I mean? They ultimately, man, they should have done that years ago. Like, you can smoke weed, but only if you pay us $500. If you pay us $500 a year, you can get a license and you can smoke weed. You know what I mean? They should have done that years ago. Rather than clogging up all the fucking jails and prison systems, they could have made $500 off of every fucking stoner. For years. You know what I mean? Do you fuck with PFP? Plenty of... I don't know what PFP is. I was thinking of plenty of fish, but... that's POF. Fuck with PFP. PFP. I guess not, to be honest. I don't even know. Public profile picture. My profile picture has been up there for years. Like, I pretty much made the channel. I was thinking about doing the Appalachian Trail, and the channel was going to be me trail hiking, being a through hiker on the Appalachian Trail, and then doing the whole thing from start to finish. And then COVID hit. Basically they made everybody that was on the trail get off, and the following year it was completely closed. So I was like, fuck, and then I didn't really have the finances to do it then at that point anyway. Blue Eyes White Dragon. Oh, your profile. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I mean, cool. I mean, Charizard's better, to be honest with you. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to like poke you with a stick or nothing. But, a Charizard card is worth more than a Blue Eyes White Dragon. You know what I mean? And it's always going to be that way. You know what I mean? Because I don't know, man. If you like, because the original Charizard card, man, like, I've held in my hand, like, when I was little shit, like 7, 8 years old, maybe 9. You know what I mean? That I was holding a card in my hand that's worth over $100,000 today. You know what I mean? If it was cased up right and everything, it was in a, yeah. But that's as far as that, yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh's not bad. I'm not trying to, I liked the concept of Yu-Gi-Oh. I almost wish that we had the dual arenas, like, I can understand us not having the arm disc things and we throw it out, because it's all holograms anyway, right? But why isn't there, like, arenas, like how Kaiba had, like Kaiba would have, like, the arena, and then the dual monsters would come up and be like a hologram, like, we could do that. We could totally do that today. We just haven't put funding towards it. You know what I mean? And, like, in a way, if you think, we have Pokemon, right? There's Pokemon on the planet. We just don't have balls to catch them with. Because, like, what are the animals? Right? Like, if we had a ball that we could throw out and catch a lion, that's a fucking Pokemon at that point, Like, we have Pokemon, we just don't have a ball to actually catch it with. Jack Black, ain't that you? No, I get that a lot, though. People tell me, like, yeah, I got, like, a Jack Black vibe. I don't know. I don't know. Kind of feel like if Jack Black and Danny DeVito had a kid, right? And then at the same time as Seth Rogen and Jim Carrey had a kid, right? And then these two, both their deformed kids, were to meet, somehow have a kid, that would be me. I don't know. It's like, but, it's like, I don't know. And Robin Williams is his uncle somehow. Ain't no way. You were in a Minecraft. I never even watched that, dude. For me, my whole life they've been trying to make video games like as pleasant to the eye as they possibly could. Like each new console is like, them trying to move up. Like when the Nintendo 64 came out, it went from 32-bit graphics to 64-bit graphics. That's why it was called the Nintendo 64, if you didn't know. But anyway, they were like, for the longest time, for like 40 years, they're trying to like improve graphics. And this game Minecraft comes out, and it was like it was like fucking shooting everybody in the face. Like you spent 3 years to develop the environment on your game. We spent a week, and it's a fucking sandbox. I mean, I get that aspect of it. It's like playing in a sandbox in your backyard digitally in the TV, and like moving all the little blocks around and finding weird stuff and fighting stuff. I get it, but they could have put a little bit more graphic into it. You know what I mean? I get the cubic nature of it all. It's just part of their niche, of Minecraft's niche. But to me, I don't know. When I see people that are older than me playing Minecraft, I'm like, dude, what? You understand it's like for 8-year-olds, right? You know what I mean? And it's like, there's like, I see it all the time too. This one dude, Snooks, he's one of the guys I watch. He'll pop on Minecraft like once a week, and be streaming himself playing Minecraft, and he's like a 40-year-old insurance salesman, It's like, I rip on him just a little bit about it, like, hey, play something else, dude. And then he wants to go play a game where he's got some kind of armor and a sword, But it's like, yeah, I get it. It's either a first-person shooter, like half of the games are first-person shooters in the first place, or either first or third. But yeah, I liked Fallout 76. I just wish it didn't crash so much. That would have been nice. Because could you imagine the fan base that Fallout 76 would have if they could like actually work on the game not crashing every 30 minutes? But I don't know. It doesn't seem to be what they're worried about. Who am I? I'm Florida Swamp Monkey. Pretty much, originated and came right out of the swamp, and they tried to throw me back in, but the gators didn't even want to eat me, so doing my thing, trying to get through it, man, trying to buy a piece of land off the billionaires that own it currently, not necessarily trying to become a millionaire myself, because pretty much the only way to do that is to fraud the government nowadays, and not really like I'm trying to do that, government's got enough problems, don't want to add to it, But yeah, I'm a fan of Dogecoin, obviously, just because it's on a proof of work consensus, and it's electrified money. Like you're moving from like paper money to actually like electrified money, like an actual digitally, a digital currency that's based off the amount of power it takes to produce it in the first place. You know what I mean? Versus the dollar, where it's just only worth what the government decides to. Yeah, it's only worth what, I don't know. But yeah, we're going from like a rock-based economy to a paper-based economy to an electrified economy, basically. And some people, basically the aliens that are in charge are changing the currency, and then like only 1 or 2% of the world actually even realizes right now. You know what I mean? That's as far as it goes. They're just changing it from an S symbol to a B symbol. Everybody's freaking out. It's only so they could put more zeros everywhere anyway. Make it feel like we're making money, because the amount in our pocket's going up, but yeah, I don't know. You just 10x the price of everything, and then we'll give you about, you make 4 times the money that you used to make, but everything around you is going to cost 10 times as much. It's been like that for generations. But anyway, man, we're hanging out. Everybody left. Damn. I had a viewer for a quick second there. How you doing, man? I had like 4 people were chilling for a quick second, and then I started getting a little bit too real. Everybody left. I don't know. But yeah, my biggest thing is now is I don't want to sign up for debt at all. You know, just like save up and buy a used car, pay in cash like a G. You know, just fucking find a car for $5,000 somehow or another. You know, and then once you spent that $5,000, restack the $5,000 in case the car shits on you. You know, I mean, you'd have to, you know, kind of create a nest egg for yourself. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to have to get anything financed. I'm to that point where I don't. If I can buy the things I want in life without having to get the bank involved, just simply because I can save the money for it first, and then buy on a smaller scale. You know, more something like I can actually afford to buy today. Because you know, if you save up $10,000, you ought to be able to get dirt somewhere. You know what I mean? And but yeah, even to get the financing on land, they want 40% down, and then you know you got to pay an interest rate and all this, and then there's fees. There's, you know, they had to do a fee to get the loan, and you know all this other shit. You end up, you know, a $10,000 piece of land because you got it with credit ends up being probably like 15. You know what I mean? Where if you had 9,000 cash, you could probably offer them the 9 cash, because they're only, you know, they're trying to get 10 out of it. You know, 10 was their asking price. You could come like, I got 9 cash. Or you can go to the bank and be like, I've got 3,000, can y'all spot me the other, you know. So I'm not going to do it that way, basically. But pretty much, you know, I don't know. I went into the bank earlier today just like for shits, you know, because I was like, I do have X amount, you know. I have the 40% I could put down, but, you know, it does seem way smarter in my head just to wait X amount of more months and get the other 60% and then just buy it all outright. Not have to worry about putting myself in debt, you know. I don't know, man. That's just the plan for now. And then like once I get there, like I said before, I won't be homeless anymore. I'll just be houseless. You know what I mean? But really, like, looking the Seminole Indians that were here before us, think about how long they were living here without houses. You know what I mean? Like, they just thatched together a lean-to, and you know they didn't mind getting rained on a little bit, you know, because it was just part of life. You know, I don't know. It's kind of, I see it, you know, with like old ladies and shit. They get like the littlest bit of water on them or something, you know, and they're like, oh my god, like they're melting. You know, like you forget. I don't know. Like, I'm not the type of person I'm gonna go and like dance in the rain, but I have. You know what I mean? You know, sometimes you're in the mood and you're already wet, you know, and you're just like, fuck it, you know, it's refreshing, you know, sometimes, you know what I mean? If you're already soaking wet, it's kind of refreshing to go play in the rain, you know what I mean? I'm still kind of that young at heart. I don't know. But, you know, I wouldn't be on like, if it's a thunderstorm, you don't want to ride your Razor scooter in a thunderstorm, you know what I mean? Don't be standing on a fucking plaque of metal. You know, like just on this metal scooter and there's a thunderstorm going on. Yeah, I don't know. I've done that too. It's like, pick me, pick me. But yeah, pretty much trying to act like, live on the, sorry, choking. Live on the mindset. Like some people, they ask, like, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? You know, well, why not ask also, what would Buddha do? You know, like, what would Jesus do? And then what would Buddha do? You know what I mean? And then try to find like a middle ground between those two. And why not do that? You know what I mean? Because like, we're Americans, we're a consumer by birth. Us ourselves are products. You know what I mean? And they look at life as if it's a resource to be extracted from. You know what I mean? And it's kind of fucked up in a way. And then, you know, you go to buy a house, they want to price it at exactly 30 years of your life. Yeah, man. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to like I said, just live on that philosophy of like, what would Jesus do versus what would Buddha do? and then think of something to do that I should do. You know what I mean? Because honestly, I don't think Buddha would buy into any of this shit. I don't think Buddha would buy a car. I don't know for sure. He might need a car though, because you just like, your job is so far away that you need a car to get there in a timely fashion, because it's 20, you can't walk 20 miles to work. You'll need a car to get from here to there. And I bet Buddha would still work though. You know, he's not gonna just be a bum. You know, so I don't know. Would Buddha buy a car or not? You know, because it's a huge impact on the planet, and I don't think Buddha would really want to be disturbing the natural order of things like that. You know what I mean? They get like a crew, so to speak, to follow them around. But yeah, you know, and really, I don't like. Would Buddha be on YouTube? Nah, I don't think so. Jesus might, but only because somebody else would be filming it. You know, same thing with Buddha. Maybe, I guess you could say, somebody would be, you know, like he's just been sitting under this tree for 7 days. He hasn't even eaten, you know, and people are just walking by and filming him. You know, he's like sitting there under a tree. He's sitting underneath a banana tree for a week, not eating them. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think Buddha would be broadcasting himself, because there's a level of vanity involved with it too. You know what I mean? Because I've kind of gotten to the point now where I've got my own channel on YouTube, you know, like, I could go watch some, you know, there's other things to watch, you know what I mean, but part of it's cool, I can go back and watch my own shit, you know, like, I don't know, you know, because, like, I don't know, Ian, if I go watch Ian, that was kind of like my inspiration, but now when I'm watching him, it's kind of like I'm watching a different version of my own story, you know, like hopefully a version of my own story a little bit further, you know. He's on chapter 8, I'm on chapter 3, you know, or something. But I don't know. That's why I'm like, I don't want to watch Ian. I'm like, you know, I'm not saying I don't, you know, but yeah. I click on it, I give him a view, I click on it, but I don't watch the whole half hour like I used to. I don't know. But yeah, like, I don't know, man. And I'm running out of time too. Like, between doing the Uber and then trying to, you know, have like an hour of footage that I want to try and make into a video. I've got to watch all that, compress certain parts of it, pull certain parts of it out. You know what I mean? Like I watch it 2-3 times. You know, it's an hour of footage that I watch. Like, you know, spends. You know, granted, it's not that hard. It's something I enjoy doing. You know what I mean? But I have to watch the video like 3 times before it posts, basically, because I don't want to. You know, like a live chat's different, you know what I mean? It's more spontaneous, brim of your seat, what's he gonna say next? Whereas the video, there was editing involved, so it's like, did he really say that in a long format video? You know what I mean? Certain things like that I gotta watch for, you know what I mean? And I do kind of at the same time say fuck it, you know? Like, I've said a lot of shit about my work, but I've never actually used the name of the company that I work for. You know what I mean? So it would take a good fan to like sit there and decipher, like, oh, boom, this is where he works. You know what I mean? I don't say it so that 1,000 people can be like, oh, he works here. I'll never apply there. You know. But yeah, things like that, because I feel like for me to put my job on blast and then me end up losing the job, and right now it's like the only stability I have. I know I can't, man. Like, I think like the biggest miracle I could probably perform is to ride a ripstick. You know what I mean? I had a buddy that could do a manual on a ripstick. I was like, what? He could, like, one wheel. And, like, a ripstick is literally, it's like 2 rollerblade wheels, right? And he could manual it. He'd be on one fucking wheel on a board. You know what I mean? Like, weirdest, yeah. Weird how you had that much balance so you could do that. It's crazy. And a ripstick, you gotta like sway it. It's kind of like snowboarding. I don't know, you're in Australia. I don't know if they snowboard down there. If they snowboard, they have to go south to north, right? Like downhill would be, since you're on the southern, you gotta go south to north would be downhill. You know, I don't know. Just like, I know, like here, like a lot of the rivers run south on the northern side of the hemisphere, so I think it's something with flushing a toilet or something like that. But yeah, if like up here, if you kind of, if there's a river that's flowing from the spring is south and it flows north, something's wrong with that. But yeah, man, it's only 2 o'clock now. I got a while. But yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I'm am I going live too much? I feel like I'm probably going live too much, but I don't know because I don't know. That's why I'd rather go. Want to make it more of like a look like a nice day there. How hot did it get? It's right now. It's 86, and this is probably the hottest part of the day. Um, but yeah, trying to get like I said, if I get the other phone, I can just have the phone mounted up, and then it would just be like 8-hour continuous live stream where I wouldn't continue to. I don't know, because I know it's got to be annoying. You know, you get all these like Florida Swamp Monkeys live, Florida Swamp Monkeys live, Florida Swamp Monkeys live, and it's me. You know, it's me just trying to be live once, but it keeps trying to cut the live on me, and it's 5 different live. You know what I mean? 5 different live broadcasts, but I was really only, so I know that part's got to be annoying. That's why I'm thinking about getting the second phone and shit. But to get it, if I get a second phone, I want to get a second phone that has a better camera on it, or if it doesn't have a better camera on it, at least has better memory on it, so I could hold more on it. You know what I mean? Because it would more or less just be a camera. Like buy a second phone that's just a camera, man. Basically, that I'd have to put on a tripod or something. But anyway, then this phone could just be like my personal phone. You know what I mean? I might could comment from it, and then I don't know. You probably heard me say this already, but I could take the video, take clips from my own phone while still live streaming, so I could still make the long format videos at the same time. But then live stream my entire day of driving for whoever's wanting to hang out, bored, can't sleep, whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, but then they stopped those shorts. The algorithm realized that I was getting subscribers off of those shorts, and it stopped giving those shorts to an audience. Right? That's exactly what happened. Because, like, yeah, I posted like 5 where I was just posting a short of, asking people to subscribe, Same thing people do anywhere on YouTube, in the middle of their video 5 times or whatever. But I was just like making a quick, here's a quick advertisement. This is me. Hey, I'm out here grinding, doing my thing. I'm homeless. Help me out. You saw them. But anyway, yeah, they'd go out to about 1,000 people, and then of that 1,000 people, I'd get like 9 subscribers. So I was like, okay, well, okay, I'll just do that a bunch then, And yeah, after they gave me about 100 subscribers, basically from that hitting enough of an audience. But the only thing with that is I get shorts. I get people that want to watch shorts. I don't get people that are trying to like come and watch long format videos. I get people that are like TikTok ruined fucking YouTube in a way. Like it helped it kind of sort of. I bet TikTok's really like under the same umbrella as YouTube. But yeah, like my ADD isn't quite that level where I like TikTok, I guess. You know what I mean? I like to click on something and like zone out for a little bit, watch it, maybe actually retain some actual information, not just it's some stupid shit I'm scrolling through, you know what I mean? But that was the problem with the shorts, is like after a while I'd post it and then 2 days later it only got 26 views, something like that, and I'm like, oh, so it's only showing it to my own, like my audience that I already have. So the people that are already subscribed to me, and they're getting all these shorts of me just asking people to subscribe, and then they want to unsubscribe because they're like, oh, is this all he does? You know what I mean? So that's why I'm gonna stop doing that. At least maybe I might do like one a month, kind of, because maybe I just beat the algorithm up by doing it too much. But yeah, I feel like for one reason or another, it's better for me because I do like live streaming. You know what I mean? I do like doing this and kind of like being an IRL streamer in a way. I could probably go do a little bit more to get more of an audience, but that's why I'm wanting to put it up here in the window and, you know, do more active, you know, because I could dual app if I wasn't running the live stream, I could run the Uber app and DoorDash at the same time, and it'd be a little busier from running both apps. You know what I mean? Be a little more entertaining. But yeah, like I'm not really a shorts guy, so I'm getting like, you know, I was getting the wrong audience, the wrong subscribers for a while there, basically. So yeah, I'm trying to do it more organically, just stay consistent with the long format videos. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are into van life, or they're on the cusp of getting into van life, and they're wanting to see what it's like, they're wanting to learn about it, you know. That's pretty much what I did, you know, trying to see, well, how did they set their car up, you know, because it's all about being organized. If you're going to be living in your car, you have to be organized, like, you know, like when you're looking at somebody that's like an A+ student, and you open up their backpack and you see their binder, the way their binder is, the way all their stuff is, all like set up in their backpack, you kind of have to be that organized. You know what I mean? I'm not quite, but I still have I got a good system. Like I got this box down here. I could pretty much move that to the trunk, but in that box I've got my bathrobe if I need it. I've got my tablet in there. There's a picture of my ex, you know, like I got like a framed picture of her, and it's all in this little box right here. The front seat, this is like a trash can. I know it's kind of like the worst spot, but it's the most convenient at the same time. So I keep quick stuff, like my hat's there, you know, my cigarettes are right here, my medicine's right there. I got peanut butter right here, you know, quick grab stuff, like hand sanitizer's right here. Sorry, I knocked the phone down. And then pretty much in the back seat is my closet. The trunk, I keep all my camping gear. Like I've got a little camp chair, a backpack, a big camping backpack I could shove everything into, a sleeping bag, a tent. There's jumper cables. There's a jack. There's a T-bar to change the tire, you know what I mean, certain stuff that should be in the trunk. And then I got like my clothes situation. I pretty much do tops go into a bag, and bottoms, shorts and pants, go into one bag. I got tops and bottoms. Pretty much tops are behind my chair and the bottoms are behind the passenger seat. And then I have all my underwear, socks and underwear, you know, tank tops or whatever, you know, stuff that you wear under your shirt, you know, all in one bag. And that I keep up here, you know, pretty much underwear's up front, pants are behind that, and then shirts are here. And then the whole back seat is pretty much like a futon. It can be a couch, or it can, you know, it's my bed. And then I sleep in a fetal position, curl up like a ball, and, you know, just pray that I'll be able to get a van soon. No, I don't take medication. I just smoke weed. I've been through all that, you know, and then I've been to the doctor. I've tried to tell them, you know, like, this is what's going on. Like, I just need a way that I can sleep. You know, like, I got everybody bitching at me about me being lazy, this, that, and the other. Everybody wants to see me be productive, but it's like, you can't expect me to be productive if I can't sleep. Like, I can't get up and go 5, 6, 7 days a week, and then I'm not actually sleeping. You know, and I've been to the doctor. I've told them that, you know, like, I just need something I need a sleep aid. I need a stronger than what you can just go to Walmart and get, because Tylenol PM, I'm not trying to take 6 of them, you know what I mean? And yeah, they want to listen, and they nod their head, and then they want to give me other shit, you know? And I'm like, dude, you're working for the pharmacies, you know what I mean? Because, like, you're giving me 6 fucking medications that aren't actually dealing with the problem that I'm losing sleep and I'm irritable. You know what I mean? And it's like, so yeah, I don't even, you know, doctors are fucking ridiculous. They're people that were greedy enough that they wanted to, you know, I don't know. I just, yeah, I don't even want to go to the doctor for any reason. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't cut me open at all for nothing. You know what I mean? Like, just let me go. Like, if I have cancer, just let me go. I don't care. You know what I mean? You know, and then they want to charge you $80,000, you know, for some stupid shit that, you know, they were practicing on you. They don't even know for sure that what they did was actually what they were supposed to be doing. They're just still guessing, and then they want to send you a fucking bill for it, and then you have fucking cancer. You know what I mean? How can you be expected to pay them back? Like you're a fucking cancer survivor. I don't know. It's just like yeah. And then so you can extend my life for another 2 years maybe. You know what I mean? I don't know. And all this fucking all this money that my family's gonna have to cover. I get this. I get that side of it, but it's not for me. You know what I mean? The amount of money that they want to do their job of being a doctor. You know what I mean? Versus like what I seen what a doctor used to be, right? Like in the 1920s, but before a hospital was a thing, what a doctor used to be, and they'd come into the home, and grandfather would be sick, and they'd be in his deathbed, all sick, by candlelight or whatever, and the doctor would come in there and he'd check his vitals and be like, well, just make him comfortable until he passes. Like I can, from what I can see, he's probably gonna live another month. So just try to make him as happy as you can for that month. Try to, do as much as you can for him and say your goodbyes now. And what they do now, they're all about money. How much money can we charge this guy so that we can fill the hospital with more technology? I don't know, or you know what I mean, something like that. Like I get the part of that is going into the research and like redeveloping. You know what I mean? I don't know, but yeah, like that's what I'm saying. I don't have the money to give them. So like don't put me in the back of a $3,000 ambulance and take me to the hospital. Have them hold me overnight. Decide that they want to cut me open for one thing or another. And then they want to charge me $20,000. And then if I don't have the money to pay it, they're gonna slap it to my credit and fuck me up for getting a house for fucking years, like they already have. You know what I mean? And it's yeah. You basically get taken to the hospital by force and then billed like more money than you make in a year. You know what I mean? It's a fucking pretty good scam they got going on now with healthcare. You know what I mean? It really has turned into a fucking pretty big fucking global fucking. You know what I mean? It's so fucked up, man. But yeah, that's pretty much where I stand on that. I'm sorry, but yeah. I would rather, I'd rather die at 47 and know that I never had a doctor cut me open for anything. I mean, it might be one thing if they need to remove my appendix or my pancreas or something. I think it is, you know what I mean. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be cut open for a double bypass. You know what I mean? Like just let me pass. You know what I mean? And it's kind of fucked up that I'm saying that, but I do kind of believe in reincarnation in a way too. So the shorter I can get the hell out of here, the faster I might be able to come back as something more or better or else. Even if I'm not better, I can at least be somebody else, have a different suit to wear. Like pretty much I got a shit hand as far as like the body. You know what I mean? As far as the body that I was given, they pretty much I got like maybe a 3. And then we live in a world that's like driven by looks too, so it's like they were wanting to see how much work I was going to be able to do. Clearly, whoever, however, you know what I mean. Whatever designed my shape, it's supposed to be a comedy. Did someone get I'm not sure. Like I'm sure there is kind of free healthcare, but there is lists and there's waiting, and then you get doctors that they're not even a doctor yet. They're because you went to the dental school instead of going to a dentist. You know what I mean? Kind of. So I mean, yeah, if you're getting some kind of subsidized, the doctor's gonna come in and like half-ass it. You know what I mean? I've seen that happen too. We're like, oh, the state's paying me for this one. Okay, cool. And then they just hit the checks on the paper, and then they're gone. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's like, honestly, the older I get, the more I fucking hate this place. I don't think that's gonna change. So I wouldn't want to live till 90. A lot of the 80 and 90-year-olds, they pretty much always seem like they're in a bad mood too. You know what I mean? I can't tell you how many times I've had, somebody that was like in their 80s, just give me this grimace like I've stolen from him, or I fucked his daughter or something. He's just got this look like, I'm like, dude, what the fuck did I do to you, bro? Like turn around, like do I need to pull out my gun and, do I need to get you to run away? Like, do y'all want me to act like a fucking crazy homeless person? Because I can. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. That's, yeah. I mean, part of that is a generational thing too, because yeah, I see a lot of like, men that are 40, 50, 60, there's a lot of like mud duck looking dudes, like the guys that are like 20 years older than me. I don't know how the women that are 20 years older than me wanted the guys that are 20 years older than me, because the guys that are 20 years older than me look like straight fucking, like I said, just mud ducks, I don't know. I kind of get that, like, I don't know, me as a guy, I look around at guys and I'm like, damn, dudes are like ugly. Like, it surprises me women want to be with us. Like, dudes are kind of like just fucking ugly. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, maybe it's because I'm straight, but I don't know. Because I don't know, I'm not a female, but I don't know. I can understand why females become lesbian, though. You know what I mean? Women, for the most part, usually are cleaner, and then, usually for the most part have a better shape to their body. There's some men that look like fucking warthogs and shit. Case in point. Like I look like, like if a pig and a monkey had a baby, fucking monkey pig thing, man bear pig. If man bear pig was a person. I don't know. I appreciate you hanging out. But yeah, here probably another week or two, we'll be doing live streaming, and I'll actually be moving and doing the driving, doing the Ubers. Whoever wants to hang out, pop in, see me drive around, watch me drive around for 6 hours, whatever. Just broadcast the whole thing. Yep. Yeah, that's like a reason. They're like, only the blue toolkit can only do so much, and the pink toolkit can only do so much. I was watching a video last night. This lady, she's like, I'm cashing out my Social Security at 62, and she like, I was thinking, I was good, man. I'm gonna take that and make my own video. Like, why I'm gonna cash out at 50. Like something like that. Like it's like, why I plan on retiring at 62. And she's like, I actually retired at 60, but I have to wait another 2 years before I get my Social Security benefits. And I'm like, damn. So I'm like, wait, weren't y'all bitching about wanting to have to go to? Weren't y'all bitching about wanting to go to work, and now you're bitching about wanting to retire from the work? It's like, we tried to help y'all. We tried to. It's not worth it. It's like, you want to go to work too? It's like, it's just a fight out there. All we're doing is, it's like we're fighting a war every day out there. That's all we're doing by going to work. You want to be a part of that? And they're like, yeah, we want to be independent. You give it to them, and then the majority of them are on fucking OnlyFans today. You know, that's work. It's like, you didn't want to work. You know, like, fuck, we tried to save you from it. Now you're just worried about retirement. I don't know. It's just, there's just fucking, just a man watching that, and I was like, this is so stupid. This woman that probably worked her office job for 30, 40 years, you know, and she's like, don't even fucking want to be there, but she needs to be there because she needs to make money. It's like, remember, y'all didn't have to. Y'all wanted to do that, right? And they get all upset. It's like, what do you mean? We tried to tell you it was stupid. And then they're like, what happened to all the men with money? And it's like, well, all the men, we had to take the global money supply and basically cut it in half and give it to y'all. You know, it's like, how are we supposed to have more money here? You know, and then you let them work, and then they're bitching about how much they make. You know? Like, why did we do that? I'm sorry, I'll stop. But yeah, wanted to be independent. You know what I mean? I get that. You know, everybody wants to be independent, but the thing is, like, nobody is actually independent. Like, everything that you have, everything that you own at the pleasure, and you know, you own at the pleasure of someone that has more power than you. Basically, I'm not saying that the right way, but yeah, like, nobody's independent because we all are codependent on each other. You know what I mean? That's like, you know what I mean? We have this huge symbiotic relationship going on here, but everybody's trying to be independent. Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Check it out. Like, you have to find it's on Amazon, and they try to hide it, right? Like, I tried to find the shirt because I had it before, and I was trying to, like, rebuy it. I typed in Dogecoin t-shirt, and I went through I scrolled down for like 5 minutes, could not find this shirt at all. Every other fucking shirt wanted, you know what I mean? There are some good other ones, but this one's like the best in my opinion. It's, you know, it's got, like, you know, it's all fucking ganged out and shit. But yeah, they'll have one that says, like, Doge Father, and, like, the Godfather, but it says the Doge Father, and they'll have one, it's, you know, there's a bunch of them, but I couldn't find this particular shirt. I had to research it, and luckily I had it in my shopping cart, but I had it in the saved for later, so I was able to just pull it from out of the saved for later, and boom, you know. But it was like 18 bucks. The first time I bought it, it was 24. And then this time it was like only 18, so it was like, you know, less than 20 bucks for a shirt. It's, you know, that's the price anywhere. And it's still a good, you know, it's not like a super thin, like sometimes you get a shirt and it's like extra, it's like as thin as they could have made it. No, this ain't like that. It's a heavy duty, I don't know if it's Gildan, but it feels like Gildan, you know what I mean? Like, it feels thicker than a Fruit of the Loom. It's Port and Company is the shirt. You know, the brand that made the black t-shirt that they put the print on, you know what I mean? That's all he really did was, you know, put the shirt underneath the printer, iron on. But still, yeah. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Pretty much, I got into Dogecoin when it was like 9/10 of a cent. I first saw it. My buddy had like a Reddit, or something. He had a Reddit. I want to say it was a Reddit. and I was reading posts, like, you know, it was like I was reading a post somebody had put on his Reddit page or something, like some kind of post or something, and it said tip one Doge or tip two Doge at the bottom, like, you know, like a little blue button, click and tip a Doge to the guy that made the post. And I was clicking on it, you know, and he's like, stop. He's like, don't do that, man. He's like, you're giving away all my Doge, man. Like, why are you giving away all my Doge? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, that's gonna be fucking money one day, you know. It's like, okay. And I was like, I don't know. It said, you know, it said click here to tip one doggy. That's when I was like, what the fuck is a doggy? I'm like, okay. You know, it showed that you had like 800 of them or something. So I was like, okay, I guess that's what part of this, you know, it's part of this website or whatever. You just tip a doggy, and everybody's got a certain amount of doggies that they got tipped, and then you tip other people with your doggies. Yeah, because it looks this like, dude, it's totally dog e coin, right? Like e coin, like this is the one with the dog on it. This is the dog e coin, right? But everybody wants to call it Doge, like we're fucking Russian or something. The whole world's calling it Doge instead of doggy, because the original meme was this dog, right, with its face like looking all like, huh, and it said, you know, it said, look at my doggy, and it was like a young kid that was misspelling the word doggy, and he put Doge, but it was a kid misspelling the word doggy. It was like, look at my doggy. They put dog with an extra e, but somehow, you know, now that it's a global thing, everybody wants to say it all Russian and shit, you know. Like, I don't know, but yeah, like I try to explain that to people. Everybody wants to fight you on it, and it's like, no, dude, trust me. Like, I know what the 4-year-old was thinking when they took the picture. They were like, look at my doggy. And it's just cool, you know. You like Eminem's behind it, you know. Fucking Snoop Dogg's behind it, Jay-Z's behind it, fucking Elon's behind it, you know. Trump doesn't fucking know enough about it, you know what I mean. He thinks he knows, but I guarantee you, I don't think he really actually fucking knows. He just sees money, you know. He sees the Bitcoin as like, he sees like Bitcoin, and then it's just $8, you know, $8 symbols. You know, it took 8 of these dollar symbols multiplied together is the Bitcoin. That's probably how Trump sees it. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, it's just currency. Yeah, but he don't actually see it. The idea is like, we could create a number that is so huge that everybody could have a piece of, that there would be no reason to go to war, and we could take a certain amount of power away from our government, because, you know, when we all have a piece of this finite asset and they print more, they're just going to be printing more on the value of our finite asset. You know what I mean? And it's a long stretch, you know what I mean? But yeah, I don't think it's going anywhere. It's only going to go one direction from here. I'll stop because I know Fred doesn't like hearing about this. He doesn't watch my channel for you know, the financial advice from a homeless guy. You know. But honestly, there was a dude, Luke Mickett. He's from Australia. At least if he's not from Australia, I might be mistaken. He might be from New Zealand. And if he's not from New Zealand, I'm sorry for insulting. I did not mean to. You know, I'm not sure, you know, but I assume it's like, you know, the difference between New Jerk and New Jerk and New Jersey. You know, people from New York hate people from New Jersey, and people from New Jersey hate people from New York. If you call somebody from New York somebody from Jersey, you know what I mean, there's a big, you know, you might get stabbed calling somebody from like South New York, New Jersey. You know what I mean? It might be the same way with Australians and New Zealanders. I don't know. I could imagine it probably is. But it's probably like if you called a Canadian an American, or if you called an American a Canadian, they'd probably just be like, no, they'd just correct you, you know, move on with your day. You know? You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't insult me if somebody called me Canadian. I'd be like, but did you read the word Florida? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But anyway, where was I going with that before I got onto all that? Something about New York and New Jersey, before New York and New Jersey. I forget. Let me hit the bowl, maybe I'll remember. Oh, but yeah, Luke Mickett. That's what it is. He's a YouTuber. I found his channel through researching Bitcoin and trying to like I finally got to the point I was like, what is this? You know, like what's going on with it? You know, like what is this? Is like, because I'm like, first I thought like, oh, it's something for the billionaires. You know, it's just like some kind of banking system for people that have like millions of dollars. You know, but no, there's a lot of millionaires that they're not even touching it. They're not involved in it. You know, they don't want to. They're gonna die in the dollar system rather than get into the new system that ultimately will help change the world for better. But anyway, um, yeah. But Luke Mickett is one of the people that I found. Luke Mickett 21. If you want to check him out, he's a younger guy. I think he's younger than me even. But he wised up to Bitcoin in like 2017, 2016, and he decided to live in his car for a year to be able to save money to put on Bitcoin because he's seen the potential of it from then. And at that point, I still kind of thought it was a scam thing. You know, I was like, you know, it's a box to put money in, and then, you know, when everybody puts their money in the box, then you sell yours, and then you make the money. You know what I mean? Basically, sort of, but it's you know, it's a first come first serve thing. You know, a lot of people that they've been in it for 15 years at this point. They were waiting for that $1 trillion market cap. You know, and then since it made that $1 trillion market cap, they're like, let's see if we can go to 2. And then it went up to 2, and then they sold out. You know, it's like that's just natural. You know, but yeah, it only affected the price so much. You know what I mean? And now it's still there. It didn't go anywhere. It can only, you know, build up again. You know what I mean? But yeah, he worked hard for like, you know, the whole year, 2 years, something like that. Of course, this was in 17, so he was able to get like more Bitcoin than I'll probably be able to. But I don't know. You know, and who knows what it'll turn into another 5-10 years, you know, 15, 20 years from now, because it's less than 20 years old, and they're developing all kinds of, you know, they're getting to the point where they're giving loans against it. They're, you know, they're willing to use it as a security to be able to pull out cash against. You know what I mean? Because they see it that way now. You know what I mean? So who knows another 20 years where it's going to go. And I'm basically doing the same thing. I'm just like almost 10 years behind Luke on that, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, now I watch him from time to time. He doesn't do live. I mean, he does do lives, but his lives are more like a newscast. You know what I mean? He'll be, you know, oh, here's the latest Bitcoin news. This is what I found on this, and you know, the CBDC. You know, they're trying to unveil the central bank digital currencies, and you know, because the currency is going to go digital either way. It pretty much is. We're going to get rid of the paper because they want to be able to track it more, right? Because look at all the drug dealers that have like 5 houses. Case in point, they're trying to stop that. You know, they're trying to get it to the point where you make your money legitimately. If you are a drug dealer, it's because, you know, you're in the legal weed game. You know what I mean? You're actually, because you own a warehouse that you grow weed, and you have employees that are on a payroll and they all get taxed, and you know what I mean? You'll have to be that. Or yeah, you know, which, you know, because they're going to take cash from us. Like pretty much cash, you won't be able to go to their ATMs, won't even be a thing. All you'll have is your phone to make purchases from. You know what I mean? It's gonna get that way. Trust me. It might be 50, 100 years away still, because they don't want us to strip us of our freedom completely between now and then either. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to just jump straight into communism. You want to kind of like, you know, take 3 or 4 generations to do it, so that way the people don't even realize that it happened. It's just, you know, time changed. You know what I mean? But yeah, like we'll get to the point where we're not even passing paper notes back and forth anymore to settle debt with each other, and the government will be able to track. And if we have like a large, you know, oh, what did you buy from this guy for $10,000? You'd have to be able to show something physical, like, oh yeah, I bought this boat. And then, you know, you might have a boat, and the boat, you know, you fill the boat with drugs or whatever, you know what I mean? And the boat keeps getting sold between drug dealers, you know, but there'd still be X amount, you know, like you couldn't sell it to somebody for 10,000, but you sent them 50, because they would still see that you sent them 50. You know what I mean? So that part is kind of it's gonna suck for the people that aren't honest in the first place, basically. You know what I mean? But we'll see. We'll see if it even happens that way. But yeah, I don't think we're going to stick with our analog paper currencies for another couple hundred years. You know what I mean? If they, even the point that they don't want to, as much as shit is inflated, they had $500 and $1,000 bills in the 70s, and then look how much bigger everything is nowadays. But like, because of counterfeiting and stuff, they don't want to make $1,000 or a $500 bill today. How you doing, Jer Bear? But yeah, you know, because somebody be counterfeiting $1,000 bill real quick. You know what I mean? Granted, you know, hopefully it would be like metal or something. You know, like there'd be something about it where, you know, like, because if it was metal or even had like a big metal strip in it or something, you wouldn't be able to carry it through. You know, metal detector, boom. You've got five. You know, you got over $10,000 in your pocket. You know, I don't know. But yeah, that's, I don't know. Well, just use credit cards instead or bank wire transfers, if you know, or you'll just pay in a bunch of hundreds. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, I got this fucking duffel bag full of hundreds. Fucking buy something with, because I can't just have like 50 notes. I gotta have this whole fucking duffel bag of hundreds. Sorry, Jerry. Yeah, I apologize. I had two viewers for the longest time, Jerry. So I was mainly talking to kind of like whoever else was watching other than Fred. I was trying to like give them some actual knowledge on, like hey, go look at Bitcoin. Go spend 10 hours on YouTube just looking at Bitcoin at least, for your own sake, because it could be one of the things you're talking about to your grandkids one day, like, yeah, I saw that. I saw it when it first came out, but I thought it was a scam, and then by the time I realized what it was going to be, I couldn't afford it. I figured, my $50 wasn't going to get nothing. And so I never even put $50 on it. But man, if I could go back, what would, me losing $50 one week wouldn't have hurt me from being a millionaire in my 90s. Like, if you live that far. But if you don't live that far, I'm sure you can find someone to pass that amount of wealth too. You know what I mean? I thought the stream was about the Roman Empire. Sort of. I mean, because pretty much we've been debasing the currency since then. Like I don't know if it wasn't, I think it was Octavius Caesar. Maybe it was the guy right after Julius. Or was it Octavius was the guy right after Julius? I don't know. But I think it was even Julius that started it. He would take the gold coins and he started to chip a corner out of them or something like that. The tax, like, tax the coin. He would bust, 10% of the coin he would take off the corner of, and they were collecting gold for a little while off of that, a little tenth of each coin when people were getting taxed and spending their coin back and forth. Like, he started debasing his own currency, and then they decided to do it again, and they took another notch out of the coin or something like that. I was watching a video on it. I'd have to rewatch it, honestly, to be honest. But yeah, and in France they used to take the silver, and then they would, they do the same thing we're doing, or they would press another metal into it, the same amount of silver, but then they would add 10, and then double the amount of currency that they had, but you didn't have any more silver. And the U.S. basically was doing that for the longest time until 1971. And, because we had notes. The notes were supposed to represent how much gold that we had locked up. And we started printing more than we had in actual reserve. We got to the point we had like 10% of the actual gold that we had notes for, or something like that. Like we had all these hundreds of trillions of dollars going around in a circle, but then we only had like $10 trillion worth of actual gold that was backing that. And then France called us out on it, and they were like, hey, we got X amount of your bills we want to trade for your gold. We want to take the gold and put it into our own lockup rather than hold on to your money. And then Nixon was like, no, here, we just suspended this convertibility. We just suspended the convertibility of the dollar into gold or any other strategic assets, unless it's feasible for us, basically. So yeah, they basically screwed France on that, and then basically, came out, told everybody like, yeah, look, we've overspent, and we don't know what to do from here. So we're gonna start pricing the dollar and how much oil it's worth versus how much gold it's worth. And then now they've basically been able to freely print dollars based on how much oil they estimate that there is on the planet. Yeah. Yeah, I even went into a bank today. I was going to fuck with them. I was like, hey, do y'all do collateralized lending for land? I want to do a land purchase, and I have collateral that I can put up to try to secure the loan with. And then they find out it's Bitcoin, and they're like, oh, no, we don't do that. I was like, really? I'm like, y'all are behind then. It's like, this isn't a 21st century bank then. I'll get the fuck out. Sorry. It's like, yeah, I want to pivot. I want to use land as collateral to buy more land with. Which you can do, you know what I mean? I don't know, that's stupid. But yeah, they're just behind, man. That's all it is. Just gotta wait another couple years. Which, yeah, it's like my whole life is just playing the waiting game anyway. I've been poor and broke for so fucking long, and like I see through a lot of the shit, and I'm like, okay, what do I really need? Like I can see all the things that everybody wants and went and got because they wanted. You know what I mean? But just because they have it, do I have to go out and do all that just to like recreate it for myself? I don't really want to do that. It's like it doesn't sound like what I even want to do. Especially like for a nice, fucking cars are they're pieces of shit either way. You know what I mean? Whether you have an $80,000 Corvette or a fucking $2,000 Corolla. You know what I mean? It's a piece of shit to me. It's the bane of our existence right now. You know what I mean? And for you to go out and spend fucking 20 times as much on something that does the same thing ultimately, that was just stupid. It was completely fucking stupid. That's money you could have put towards any fucking thing else in your life that would have improved anything else. But you bought a Corvette. It's still too volatile, yeah, but it's still like what I'm saying. I don't think you'll see $5,000 Bitcoin. You might see it go down under 30, but I bet it'll go down under 30 for maybe an hour, because it was underneath 60 for a little. But yeah, it was under 60,000 for like an hour, and then it went back up over 65 again. And it kind of bubbled around 70, and then there's turmoil going on now, so now's a good time to put another $100 on it, basically. But yeah, like I said, it's not going anywhere. Even if the US is gone, it's not going to stop Bitcoin. Because I could totally see that happening too. I could see our debt, because of our debt, X amount of other countries would just be like, you know what, well, this is, we're taking this corner, and you could take this corner, and you could take this corner, and if you don't like it, you can fight us all for it, but you owe us this state. And then the other country would be like, you owe us this state. And the reason they would want this state and that state is because, they'd have this resource on it, or some shit, and we'd pretty much just have to agree because we owe them fucking 40 trillion fucking dollars. Yeah, you can have the state of California, that's fine. Yeah, whatever's there, you go ahead. Yeah. But you gotta take Nancy Pelosi and Kamala with you. If we can keep Alaska and get rid of California, I think would be beneficial. If we could, yeah, somehow hold on to Texas, and then also keep Alaska, get rid of California, maybe even just make California its own country, and see if they can survive. You know, because they ought to be able to up there. What are they? I think California is like 5 times the size of England. So you're telling me like England's been able to sustain itself as a country, but California wouldn't be able to sustain itself as a country? Because I'm sure you can work out deals with, even if you're your own country, right? In California, you can still work out deals with the U.S. where you can make trades with Arizona and you know, you can still trade with us. You're not, you're not gonna, you know, we're not gonna completely abandon you. If you need help, you can pay us. I thought almost thought I had another like on a second. Funny. But no, I got one friend. He's from California, and he decided to move to Japan. And he's like, where he's at right now. If he ever comes back to the United States, he'd go to Colorado. I think it's either Colorado or Arizona, or something like that. If he ever came back, if he ever were to leave Japan, he was born in California. If he ever were to leave Japan, he'd go to Colorado or Arizona. But yeah, man. This is an okay day so far. I pretty much made $25 off the lunch rush. The 3 orders that came through. But I'm gonna start telling people when I deliver to them, I'll be like, yo, remember Uber's better than DoorDash. You know, I don't know. Just you might end up with more customer. I might get more deliveries out of it. Just reminding them like, hey, Uber's number 1 and DoorDash is number 5. I don't drive for DoorDash. Don't use DoorDash. Yeah. That could change in the future. Probably with Bitcoin is the problem with Bitcoin is if it becomes stable in price, it becomes boring to buy. Right. I could see that. Right. Like if it was just stuck at 100,000, it would, you know, it'd only be worth 100,000. You know, the price wouldn't change. You know what I mean? But I don't think that's not the case because there's a limited number of them. It's a collectible. I don't know. But yeah, it would be because it would just be a conversion. You know, like the $1 is 100,000. You know, or one Bitcoin's $100,000, and it just like locked onto $100,000 and then stopped. You know, doesn't go up or down. It's just always 100,000. I don't know. It'd be used for exchange. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, but it's the thing is that's a collectible and it's the market cap. So, you know, the more money that it collects, puts into its market cap and then divides by the 21 million that there are. So I don't know. It doesn't quite work that way. You know what I mean? I know one dasher. He gets a lot petty trips. That's what I like Uber for, because I feel like Uber has more higher dollar orders. Like there's shit on Uber too, but yeah, DoorDash will have you running for a lot of 3 and 4 and 5 and You know, you're lucky if you get the. I've had a seven, you know, because I've ran for DoorDash, and I had like a $7 order, and it was like, hey, make sure to take extra special care of this customer. They normally tip more. And I was like, but they didn't this time though. It's like, you know, I was like, $7 is a high tip to them. You know what I mean? Because they got to think, man, $15 an hour is minimum wage, right? Not federally, but it might as well be. You know what I mean? They just haven't done it federally because they're not trying to fuck over every state, right? So, but yeah, 15. You know, if you're not making 15, you're not giving them full effort. I bet at least. So yeah, and then so they want to say like, oh, $7 is good for a half hour of your time. No, it ain't. You know what I mean? Plus using your car and everything too. Like, no, it fucking ain't. But you know, the other part of it is there's not, you know, other than being stuck in traffic, there's not a whole lot of human interaction with the job. I go into the restaurant, tell them who I'm there for, either it's ready or it's not. I try to wait patiently, and I grab the food, and then usually it's leave at door. So, how much is the gas right now in Florida? $4.20. $4.20 a gallon. I filled up. I got 10 gallons yesterday. For hang on, I gotta shut down actually for a little bit. It's gonna get hot real quick though. But I got 10 gallons yesterday. It was $3.83 a gallon. So it was, yeah, basically it's $1 a liter. It's $1 a liter here. But it went back up too. It's like $3.99 now when I drove by one of the gas stations today. I had that feeling too. I was like, let me put in a little bit more than just 7 gallons because I'm feeling like gas is gonna go up 15 cents overnight. But yeah, I was right. $7, yeah. Well, Florida, yeah, because we're lucky because it's all the water all around. You know, we got the Gulf of Mexico, and there's a lot of pipelines out there. You know, and then the port of Tampa, so much shit comes in through the port of Tampa. And Georgia has even cheaper gas than Florida for some reason. It doesn't make too much sense, but I guess because Florida doesn't have certain taxes, there's certain you know, Florida makes money off of tourism or something like that. They don't tax us. They don't have a state income tax or something like that. That's probably why the gas is like up another 10 cents from Georgia too, because they tax the gas a little bit to make up for that. But I know if you're like middle of the state in Georgia, you could be paying about 50 cents cheaper per gallon than we are in Florida, depending on where you go. And then tobacco is really, really cheap in Tennessee. So if you're ever driving across country or anything and you are a smoker or a dipper, you know, you chew or whatever, get you some pre-rolls. Or, yeah, it's going to be probably cheaper in Tennessee for all of that. I remember the tobacco I used to chew, Copenhagen Wintergreen, that shit, man, it was, I'd get 2 cans for $9. No. I think it was like 2 cans for $13 or something like that. When I went to Tennessee, they were $2.50 a can. I got 4 cans for $10. But yeah. Is it 90% there now? I think that you put degree. You meant to put degree. It's only like 87. Yeah, like 87. It's been kind of, you know, we got, you know, it's kind of moving in for, you know, spring. We actually got a little bit of like the end of winter here in Florida, which doesn't really happen too much. I'm surprised it's not over 90, but I don't think it's been over 90 yet this year. Which I'm glad, because it'll be 77 and I'm sweating. If I'm not in the shade, it'll be 77 degrees. I'm sweating. But I think that's just because me leaving Ohio, my body's still acclimated for that weather, and then Florida's a lot more humid. So just because it's 77, you know, it could still feel like 90 if you're from out of town. Almost 3 o'clock. And we're gonna go to Tom for the traffic. Well, there's one really big truck just drove by, and that's about been the only traffic for the last hour. Thank you for the update on the traffic, Tom. Well, you heard it here. If you've got a long commute to work, you better get going now. Have you ate frog legs? No, I've never eaten frog legs. I wouldn't want to eat frog legs. Because usually, you know, like the rule is if it's pleasant to the eye. You know, I think it says that on like page 1 of the Bible. If it's pleasant to the eye, then I have given it to you as food or something like that. And I don't really think frogs are really pleasant to the eye. You know what I mean? Like a frog leg or a fried chicken leg. Which one are you gonna eat? You know. But I have eaten gator tail. Gator tail's pretty good. It's just like super duper expensive for some reason. Well, I guess, you know, because it's a predator. You know what I mean? You could die trying to harvest gator tail. But yeah. How much would a lion steak cost? I find me a spot where the graveyards rock. Fago popping off the coffin top. Moonlight shining on a dark summer night. Everybody's rocking at the great Juggalo Bop. Well, hell. And we're picking on them guitars just right. Everybody singing Dixieland Delight like a bobber on the wet line. We just trying to catch a good time. It's 80 degrees and the sun ain't even out. We got a spot a couple miles out of town. And when that moon comes up, you know what's going round. We got them folded chairs leaning way back. No other plans other than relax. And we ain't worried about tomorrow from where we at. 'Cause we just trying to catch a good time. Even if it takes all night. And pass that bottle round that campfire. Sip on apple pie moonshine. And we're picking on them guitars just right. Everybody singing Dixieland Delight like a bobber on the wet line. We just trying to catch a good time. I'm just a curbside prophet with my hand in my pocket, and I'm waiting for my rocket to come. I'm just a curbside prophet with my hand in my pocket, and I'm waiting for my rocket, y'all. I said, I got these tricks from my Willie Nelson style. I got my Papa Smile, and I'm looking good in the film file. I don't know. I got this skibbity dibbity bass with the blade bone thing, and then I gotta sing when it's all in my veins, and I gotta keep rolling in the same. Hey, hey, hey. I don't know, man. I'm not even sure who Aiden Ross is. I don't even follow any of that shit, dude. That's like last night they gave me this thing to pop through. It was Queso's to 10 million subscribers, 10 million subscriber live stream for Queso. You know, and him and his mom cooking, and the lady that he had, it didn't even look like it was actually his mom. You know, so like, what the fuck is this shit? But yeah. But today we're smoking on the T Haze. T Haze, looking at 23.4% THC, and there's just a little bit of CBD. It is a sativa hybrid, 30% indica as well. And it was packaged on December 11th. So it's been curing for about 3 months or so. Not too bad. As far as terpene profile, it doesn't say. But it does taste like there's definitely some caryophyllene. That's about it, as far as I can tell. But I mean, they pretty much all have caryophyllene. If you know a thing or two, they pretty much all are gonna have caryophyllene. They're buds, yeah. That's a nugget. Yeah. Potential spam. Yeah, this spam caller called me earlier, man, and he offered me a bunch of different stuff. He's like, oh yeah, sell this and this and this and this and this and this and that and this and that. And yeah, I was like, well, I'm like, my Verizon phone. I'm like, he's like, okay. He's like, yeah, I can get you a Verizon phone line. I'm talking to him for a minute, and he's trying to get my zip code from me. He's like, I just need your zip code so that I can verify, like the price for that area, or this, that, and the other. So I gave him a fake zip code, and he says that doesn't match. And I'm like, well, how does it not match? I'm like, what do you mean? What? I'm like, what information, what data do you have on your screen that you could cross-reference the zip code that I gave you, and it says that it doesn't match? You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, he told me he's got like 2 different emails. He's got 2 different emails. He's got my phone number, my full name, and I believe my mom's address as well. That's probably what he has on file. But yeah, I was like, wow, One of the emails he said, it was like an email I made when I was like 12 or 13 years old, and it's not even an email that I use. I used it for like all of maybe 6 months or so. But yeah, it's like an email that I made when I was like 13, and I say I was over 18 to get onto a website, you know what I mean, basically. But yeah, it was just weird that he had that email on file. I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? But yeah. Luckily, he don't have my seed phrase on file. Pop away vehicle restaurant machine zone. Yeah, man, fucking. Oh. I don't know. It's like. I looked up the information on the property I'm looking at a little bit last night, and apparently it's all part of a municipal district or something, a municipal service district, something like that. So like they have their own fire department, but the fire department is paid for the taxes that people that live in that neighborhood pay, or how that firehouse gets paid. You know what I mean? Because it's its own municipality, right? It's not a town, it's a neighborhood still, but it basically has the rights of as if it was like a small town or a township or something, because it's its own municipality. But at that same time, it basically said that the roads aren't private roads because it's part of the public, like the state of Florida built this neighborhood and separated all the lots. You know, like basically in 1969 they designated this land and they built it to be 22,000 lots or something like that. Um, yeah, and at this point in time they've only sold like 11,000 of them. So there's another 11,000 lots available in this neighborhood technically. You know what I mean? They range from half acre, full acre, quarter acre. Just depends, how much money you're trying to spend. You know what I mean? But yeah, just I was looking into it a little bit more, and seeing everything about it. But I think if I were to buy the land, it sounds like I'm gonna have to pay to hook it up to utilities right away. It's just part of the deal. Like I will assume responsibility of at least connecting it to the septic, right? Like I have to at least do got to do at least that part of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I might end up having I could save 13 grand and then pay for the land flat out, but I might still have to pull out another loan for like 15,000 to have to plug the utilities up to it. Like I don't know. That's basically the way I was reading it. It was like whoever purchases it, you have to connect it to the water lines pretty much like quickly. Um, Yeah, I mean that's just part of Florida. Like every state has like medical marijuana. Certain states they don't, but I think there's less than 12 states. You know what I mean? There's 50 states in total, and in like something like less than 15 don't have medical at least. You know what I mean? Like 70-75% of the nation at least has medical marijuana, and then all it is just paying the state. You know what I mean? It's the doctor makes a couple $100 off you, and then the state makes $100 off you, and then you don't have to worry about going to jail over it. You know what I mean? And I think that's fair. You know what I mean? Because honestly, if it's completely recreational, it changes the whole state. You know what I mean? I don't know. They do make a lot of money off of it, but yeah, I don't know, man. The government doesn't spend money wisely. You know what I mean? We all know that. Yeah. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me for a little bit. Who's this guy? I just realized that guy, he used the wrong scent. He spelled scent like I sent you something, not like scent like smell. If you come here and say something stupid, at least like don't make yourself look stupid while saying it. Yeah, Jerry, you get what I'm saying. You're Oregon or Washington, right? Yeah. And then, yeah, it's. I mean, granted, there's a more chiller vibe, because so it's everybody's a little more friendlier, but still at the same time, it's the state's completely different than it was before that. You know what I mean? And then, yeah, the people that are in it, the people that grow it, they're not making any money because like I said, they got to sell. I bet you can get an ounce of shake for $20. You know what I mean? And then just the whole price of the whole game is all fucked up, and they're paying to do it all legally, have like lights and shit on it and soil, and paying for all this upkeep, paying for the warehouse, the land, all this, and the storefront and labor, everybody, and then, yeah, they can only sell it for like $50 an ounce because the market's so saturated. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. I think big business on that side of it. You know what I mean? Because it's a cash crop. You know what I mean? Fuck, 1 acre of marijuana is 200 acres of corn in cash value. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know why you wouldn't. Can anyone buy smoking? Yeah, you need to get a medical. You need, like, depends on the state. There's a couple of states where it's recreational. Virginia, California, I think Arizona, Colorado, New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan. There's a lot of states you can. I'd say I think at this point half of the nation is rec. Half of the nation is rec, and in like I said, I think less than 10 states aren't medical. Something like that. If you can picture, But yeah, yeah. I don't know. Medical makes more sense to me because it doesn't oversaturate the price, and the state makes a good chunk of change off that. And then only the people that actually need it get it. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, you can't. I mean, there's doctors. Everybody's got something wrong with them. You know what I mean? There's a big list of reasons that you can be put on medical marijuana for as well. But at the same time, if you don't have one of them like 40 different, you know what I mean. There's a lot of different conditions where you can get medical marijuana, and if you, I don't know, if you just want it for fun, you can still get it as well. I don't know. I'm not saying that the right way, but yeah. But yeah, I think if they went rec in Florida, I mean, granted, I'd probably be able to find an ounce of weed for $5, maybe. You know what I mean? You'd be able to get like dollar pre-rolls. You know what I mean? Because I can already get $5 pre-rolls right now. If I go across the street right now, I can get a $5 pre-roll. But yeah, if it was recreational, it'd probably be like $1 or $2 pre-rolls. Who knows? And then they'd be losing money on that. Honestly, it'd be they couldn't keep the doors open for too long, having to sell it at that price. Oh, I'll stop. Oh, I think I thought he was laughing. I got Florida Swamp Monkey written on the back window. I thought he was laughing when he drove by and read it, but he was coughing. That's just it. I gotta erase this. It does nothing. It does nothing but draw bad attention. You know what I mean? I'll erase it, and people are still gonna remember my car and know that it used to say that. You know what I mean? But yeah, I got like 1 subscriber off of having Florida Swamp Monkey written on my back window for about as long as I've been making videos. I've got 1 subscriber off of my back window being a billboard, basically. The back window, it's like a billboard for the channel in a way. You know what I mean? I've gotten maybe 1 subscriber and like maybe 10 bad comments, from people that have seen me in traffic. You know what I mean? It's like, and then they don't even understand. They don't even watch enough of the video to even understand. Like, oh, I was in his way while he was trying to make money. Like, oh, the guy was trying to be productive and I was actually in his way. Oh, wait, then I'm the asshole then. You know what I mean? Oh, you were actually on the clock and being timed, and then I was going 15 miles under the speed limit. Oh, okay, I know why you passed me now. You know, that's usually what it is too, man. I'll be like, I'm on a road, I gotta go down for like 8 miles, and then the guy in front of me can't go 55. I don't know, for one reason or another. They're either they can't, they're afraid to, or their vehicle can't. The vehicle's not able to. So they're going 40 down a 50-mile-an-hour road. I'm stuck behind them for what's supposed to be an 8-minute drive is now a 12-minute drive. And everything just feels like it's so much longer. On top of the fact that I'm being timed by the app to get there, and they time it off of me going the speed limit. You know, it's like, and then they don't really predict lights accurately, so you pretty much have to go faster than the speed limit, because when you get to a light and have to stop there for 3 minutes, that's not really calculated very well. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, nobody ever sees that other side of it. They just go on and they're just like, hey, fucking asshole cut me off. And it's like, yeah, sure, buddy. But at the same time, I don't know. There's a difference between my style of driving and then everybody else's, because I basically am a semi-professional driver. You know what I mean? Like, even before doing Uber, I've driven for a career. Like the job I have in the auto parts store, they hired me originally to be a driver. I was driving a company car, so like I've been on the clock and driving. You know what I mean? So at that point, you do drive for a profession. So in a way, you are a professional driver. You know what I mean? Even if I'm a semi-professional driver, you know what I mean? If you spend 40 hours a week driving and you do that for your profession, then that's, you know what I mean? And so that's what I'm saying. I got a different driving style from people that are like only on the road for 20 minutes at a time. You know what I mean? I'll see people, they're like, and it's like, dude, are you not trying to get home? Like, fuck, like, can you go the speed limit so that, aren't you trying to, would you rather get home sooner than later? And I can tell, like, you're on the way home because, like, we're in the back of a neighborhood and you're like, yeah, I don't know. It's just infuriating. It really is, man. Like, don't you want to, like, get home? You're driving home, Like, I don't know why you're driving, like, you're just cruising around wasting your Sunday afternoon right now, because it's, like, after 9 o'clock at night, and you think you'd want to, like, get home for the day and, like, finish what, Yeah. That sucks, man. So it's recreational legally, but so you can't, like, you can go to the park maybe, right? But you still have to be discreet with it. That's pretty much how it is in Ohio. Like, yeah, if like you're in the park and you're just passing a joint, you're not like all out there. You know what I mean? You can do it. It's not, nobody's gonna be mad at you. In Detroit, it's like it doesn't matter. I don't think you can be in a restaurant with it, like in the '90s when people were smoking cigarettes in the restaurants. I don't think it's like that anywhere. But there might be bars that allow it. But no, that's what they need to kind of like be able to take the marijuana dispensary and then also make it a cafe at the same time. You know what I mean? But there's different licensing, and when food's involved, you know what I mean? I don't know. And then they just want to be bitches about marijuana still halfway anyway. You know what I mean? You could sell, yeah, you could sell mixed drinks and beer and wine, but you can't, heaven forbid you can have an after dinner joint, you know. But you can sit there and order all the double fucking jacks you want. Double jack on rocks. Let me get 10 double jacks on rocks while I'm here. But yeah, I miss it, man. I remember being a kid and the restaurants used to have a smoking section and a non-smoking section, and we'd always go to the non-smoking section because, we had a family, kids and shit, But, I'd always look at the smoking section, like, man, that's all the cool people are over there. Yeah, so like those were the cool people. That's where the cool people are sitting. The whole restaurant is filled with smoke anyway. They got this one half of the restaurant's like straight cloud. You can't even, the guy sitting at the other end of the table, you can't see him because there's that much of a big cloud. People all smoking. I feel like it does. Yeah, there's not a lot of angry stoners. You know what I mean? Like, just doesn't, that stereotype, there's no stereotype of an angry stoner. You know what I mean? That could even be like, somebody could make a YouTube channel, The Angry Stoner. Like, you're like the Incredible Hulk or something. The more he smokes, the more angry he gets. But I don't know, everybody's wired differently too. We all have the same brain. We're just in different bodies and fill it with different stuff. Jimmy. But yeah, I got my sign pulled out, so hang on. I'm telling you, people come up to me all the time while I'm sitting in my car and they ask me for change money. So I was just gonna pull out my sign and show them. Like when they go asking for change, I'll be like, no, but hang on. Like, I'm doing it myself, bro. Like, same boat, different guy, different sailor. Same boat, different sailor, man. Come on now. Who you asking? Like, fucking, go ask somebody in a BMW for some money, man. Like, what the fuck? Let me go ask this guy in this 20-year-old fucking car if he's got money. You know? The angry stoner. Especially if they had, like, if it wasn't a U.S. accent, too, it'd be even more off guard. You know what I mean? People would be like, whoa. The angry stoner. It's like some dude from the UK, like, what the fuck is this? Who the fuck? It's like he's like his bong is broken or something. Who the fuck was using my bong? What in the bloody fuck, fuck stick, motherfucker? Uncircumcised beach ass. They probably wouldn't even be cursing that much because they're from the UK. I can't help it. I'm from the pirate capital of the world. How you doing? But yeah, angry stoner, you would think it's an American. I at least, and if it was like, somebody with like an accent, I think it'd be funnier. Because there's one dude, I don't know, I probably shouldn't even say this, but I'm going to anyway. He calls himself the Nerd Pervert. If you know who I'm talking about, then you already know. But it's a funny name because you're like, who's the Nerd Pervert? And then you click on it and you see the guy and you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense that he's the Nerd Pervert. He's not the perverted nerd, he's the Nerd Pervert. I don't know. Thoughts on the Chappelle Ronan incident? No, he's actually a porn star. He's like, it's a super nerdy, skinny dude. You know what I mean? Like, one of the last people you would think would ever be a porn star. Somehow he's a porn star, and he's just a nerdy guy. I don't. I mean, I don't watch for him. I watch for like the ladies that he plays with. You know what I mean? But I don't know. But no, I wouldn't necessarily say he's funny. There's not even really like, you know what I mean? I don't know. What are your thoughts on fucking The Rock versus Stone Cold 7? Oh, they left. Did it disconnect? The whole chat shut down? Isn't that just a pretend fight? Well, I mean, to some extent, yeah, but 90s wrestling, I think they still kind of put their bodies on the line to perform the stunts that they did, at least. It's showing me 0 viewers right now for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, I think like in the 90s when they were jumping off ladders and going through tables and shit, and I think when they injured themselves, it was real. You know what I mean? Because sometimes they'd show you the surgeries that they're like in the hospital getting their knee reconstructed and shit, and that's why they were gone for 6 months, because they're like learning how to walk again so they can come back out to the ring to keep doing what they love and making money at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's fake to a certain extent, but I would like to see Mick Foley versus The Undertaker one more time in a Hell in a Cell. You know? Fucking Vince McMahon, I saw a video of him getting pulled over for a DUI. Vince McMahon, and he's like really old too, man. He's like fucking 80, and the cop goes to pull him out of his car and stuff, and I don't know. It was funny. It's kind of funny seeing Vince McMahon getting a DUI. It's all on the internet and shit. True, good entertainment and injuries still happen. Yep. That's all there is, man. Three thirty. We did it. I gotta get something to drink. I don't know. I gotta roll up the street or something, get something to drink, man. Moonlight shining summer night. But yeah, trying to get some subscribers, man. Only need about another 600 more. You know what I mean? 600 more subscribers, and then I could start actually like making pennies off the videos and let those pennies just stay where they are and stack up. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I seen another person. It was a person I used to be a coworker with. I didn't even know that they had a YouTube channel. But yeah, they have a YouTube channel, and they've got like 17,000 subscribers. And then they were showing me like what they make off of that. You know what I mean? Because I picture that's probably about as big as if I do get that big. That's, you know, I don't think I'm gonna have 100,000 subscribers off the content that I make. You know what I mean? But I might get to 20. You know what I mean? But yeah, they were like every day that they posted a video, they were making like $40, like on the day of posting the video. And they were saying like, you know, like I wish I would have put more time into it, you know, like because I could have put it, you know, they only made like 5 videos that month or something like that. So, like, but on the days that they posted a video, they get a bunch of views real quick. They make like $40 on the day that they were posting the videos. But since they only did it 5 times in a month, they made like $300 across the whole month off of the videos that they posted. You know what I mean? But it's the compounding effect too, because you have all the other months and all the other videos that you've made too. So, you know, whether, you know, you're only looking at this month's videos and this month's videos revenue, but you have other revenue that's coming in from all the other months before that. That's, you know, it's compounds. You know what I mean? Because some people, you know, that's the whole point of the Chronicles. I might catch a couple of people later, you know, somebody like I'm on episode 70, you know, if I make it that far. But yeah, if somebody catches me on episode 70 and then they go back and want to watch everything again, you know what I mean? Because I know I'm gonna want to rewatch it all, you know, even just me myself. And then yeah, I don't know. Right. Wait, last time you were in a fight? Last time I was in a fight, I want to say it was before I was 25. I won't fight, you know what I mean? It has to be a dude that's like the same size as me, you know what I mean? Because I'm not trying to fight, you know, in the first place. But if you're the same size as me, you know, granted, I'm not going to beat the shit out of you if you're half the size of me either, you know what I mean? You know, yeah, if you're like roughly, you know, if it's a fair fight, it looks like, you know, granted, I might have the weight advantage because I'm carrying an extra spare tire. But, you know, you can't really count that in, like, an actual street fight anyway. If it were that, you know what I mean? You're not going to count someone's belly, you know, and be like, oh, yeah, well, he had a weight difference on you. No. You know what I mean? Anyway, like, last fight, it was, this kid, it was a kid I was friends with, but we were kind of getting to a point where we're kind of getting sick of each other because he was using the fuck, you know, I don't know. He was a user. He was not that he was a user, just at that point in his life, he just couldn't. He was still trying to figure out what he was gonna do with himself, and you know. So yeah, but the lady were smoking. You know, all of us were smoking. And she sent him up to the store to go get a bag of smoke, and he comes back with it, and you know, he's like, yeah, it's like it was opened at the top, but he's like, but I didn't open it, you know, and you know, we all trusted him. We know he didn't open it because we went up to that store before and. But yeah, the bag, it was kind of like opened already, and it was kind of smaller, the bag. And he's like, yeah, I noticed it's kind of small too. He's like, I promise you, I didn't take nothing out of there though, you know. And I was like, yeah, like the thing between your legs. And he got all pissed off, and he just fucking cold cocks me. You know, we're like on this lady's porch, on her balcony in the second floor apartment, and he just like, you know, like lunged 3 feet over and like cold cocks me in the face, and I'm like. Okay, you know, I'm like, I go downstairs, I'm like calling him out, you know, like, hey, you know, come on, no, I'm like, no, dude, come on now, come on, like, we gotta go now. I'm like, we're not gonna fight up there on her you know, like, you already kind of crossed the wire when you decided you were gonna cold cock me, so I'm like, you're gonna come on down here, and we're gonna throw a couple hands back and forth. And when he's coming down the stairs, I'm halfway wondering, like, should I take my shoes off? You know, I'm like, you know, because I don't want to, you know, I'm not trying to, like, if I were to start kicking or nothing, you know what I mean? I got shoes on and shit too, and So yeah, I'm like thinking, should I take my shoes off? And then he comes down the stairs, and I'm like, no. I'm like, he ain't gonna kick his shoes off first. You know what I mean? Then we tussle for a little bit. Um, I think he swing, it connected, but I can eat a shot from a guy my size. You know what I mean? So I just kind of ate it, and then I picked him up on my shoulders, and and that's what the lady said, because we were smoking with her before that. You know what I mean? And we smoked with her afterward. You know what I mean? But she was saying it was so funny. It was like he swings at you like twice, and then you just picked him up, and then just dropped his ass right back on the ground, and then it was over. I don't know. It'd be better if you heard her tell the story. You know what I mean? But she's like, it was just, you just picked it. Cody swung at you, hit you like one time, and then you just picked him up, and then just dropped his ass back on the ground. And I halfway wanted to like fall on him too, because me use my weight against him in the fight. You know what I mean? Like throw him on the ground and then boom, drop my fucking elbow right in the middle of his spine or something. But I wasn't trying to like send him to the hospital. You know what I mean? We weren't trying to fight each other like that. You know what I mean? We're just kind of like pissed off at each other, And then, but yeah, I had him on the ground, and then there's like a holly tree bush, like a bush, like here, like one of these bushes, sort of, like a bush, But the bush had all these leaves on it, and the leaves have like 5 spikes on them, like 1 spike at the top, and then 2 spikes. Like each leaf has 5 spikes. And there's his face, and there's the bush, and I just shoved his face in the bush real quick, and I was like, yeah, we're done now, Picked him up and dropped him, and then just smashed his face into the bush real quick, and I was like, you should be, that's good. You learned your lesson on that, I bet. But yeah, I'm not trying to fight somebody that's like 6'6" and 280 pound or nothing. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to fight in the first place, to be honest with you. Yeah. I'll have to go chase down a drink here in a minute. Look, I even went to McDonald's. I got a coffee for $1 at McDonald's because I didn't want to. I figured the amount of gas I was going to use to get the drink, to refill the Polar Pop cup, 8-mile drive one way, and an 8-mile drive back. And the McDonald's is like right there, But the coffee's 20 cents more than the drink. And then I think the cup is honestly smaller too, so I got less drink and paid more, but it saved me gas. So I don't know. But yeah, ultimately I'm thirsty again. Probably I'm gonna hop to the trunk. I got water bottles in the trunk. I'll be right back. Ugh. Chilling. But like I said, hopefully here in maybe 2 weeks or so, I'll have the second phone, and I'll just be able to like, I could still be running Ubers right now, I bet. But I don't know. There's probably nothing even pinging right now. But I don't know. I'll figure it out. Because I was watching this one lady, and that's what she does. That's kind of where I got the idea to do it. You know what I mean? But there's actually a bunch of people that, they're like live streaming themselves while they're Uber driving. Um, you know what I mean? So I'm just one of, like a couple 100,000 maybe. But yeah, she's been doing YouTube for about a month, and then doing DoorDash and live streaming it for like about a month or two, and she's already about 1,000 subscribers. Granted, she's female, so you get a female bonus when trying to get people to subscribe. You know what I mean? But I think it'd be, because I'm still gonna keep doing the long format videos too. You know what I mean? Where I'm gonna upload a video of 2 days of Uber driving put into a video, and then just live stream the whole situation at the same time. You know what I mean? Were you and that cool guy afterwards? Were you and that guy cool afterwards? What guy? Oh, the buddy. Yeah, we're still friends. Like, if I were to see him in public, I bet he'd be like, hey, he'd call me by name, and or he'd call me by, my nickname. He'd probably, we'd be friendly if we saw each other. You know what I mean? If I seen him panhandling, I'd probably give him $5 or $10. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I wouldn't. Yeah, we're definitely still friends, in my opinion. I don't know what's going on in his head as far as all that, but last I talked to him, I called him because I was dealing with relationship bullshit, and he like had a kid and a wife, and he was working, trying to be, overnight manager at a Circle K or something like that. So yeah, he's doing all right. You know what I mean? Nobody with a degree, and just on the same kind of, you know what I mean. But how far do you really expect to get if you don't have, you know what I mean? It's not really that I don't know. I'm not trying to count him out, or say anything bad. You know what I mean? But yeah, being a general manager at a fucking Circle K is not a bad. It's an honest living. I think it would beat the shit out of being a store manager at Publix or something, and it probably pays roughly the same. You know what I mean? Anything is basically, it's a leveling thing. So many jobs have kind of followed the military mindset, where there's like a ranking system and all. You know, the whole company is a big huge pyramid scheme, and you're a peon at the bottom. You know, that's how my store is. They'll straight up tell you. It's like, oh, you can reach out to this guy, and if you want to go above him, you can go to this guy. You want to go above him, you can go to this guy. If you need to go above that, then you can, like, that's the board of directors, and then above that there's like vice president and a president. There's a huge chain of command in every. Each level it just forks out more. Right, and we can't. That's not. Yeah, exactly. That's not how the world works, man. Because, like I said, if I had $1 million in my savings account, it would be more money than I'm currently even working for. And they want us to work in the first place. They're trying to extract life. Trying to extract our work effort as a resource for the planet. But I mean, it makes sense. Like, we're here. You know what I mean? You should have to, like, toil your way through the earth. You know what I mean? Earn your keep. Man, it's getting hot. I'm gonna put the windows back up. Two hours, 24 minutes. Not bad, not bad. Face paint dripping like a horror movie. Every time you hear that song, your body convulses, your legs start shouting, and heaven can never wait. We wait on you, damn, we can't almost say, but you don't let this blood in our veins. be off in a few minutes. Gotta wake up my son and get him ready, etc. Got it. But yeah, I understand, man. Yeah, it's almost 4 o'clock for me, too. Well, I mean, I got like 10 more minutes or so. But yeah. But yeah, and another thing, Fred, I hope you're the only one in here. That way, hopefully it's not, I don't want to tell a bunch of people. But yeah, no, I'm doing Uber today. I already made $25. It dies. It's like dead between like 1 and 4. You know what I mean? I'll be logged on, and then there's like even one order that maybe comes through, and then there's a 50% chance that it's a good order. So I'll be logged on, and then so odds are it's gonna be something that I'm just gonna want to reject. So I figured I'd just go live instead. But damn, I can't even say it now. I'll tell you later, Fred. I don't know. Yeah, I went to the bank, and I was like, yeah, I was gonna get a collateral. I was seeing about getting a collateral loan. First, I was parked at the bank because it was in the shade. It's parked underneath a tree in the shade. Every other parking spot was taken, so I just parked there. And the lady comes out, and she's like, sir, you need to leave. And I'm like, I gave her shit real quick. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, she's like, this is private property. This is a bank. This bank, private property. And, she's wanting to say, we have very limited parking. And I'm looking over. There's 6 parking spots that are all empty. Plus they have a drive-through, which I bet the majority of people probably just come through the drive-through. Anyway, she chases me off. She's like, if you're not a customer, you need to leave. So I'm like, I think about it for a second. I'm like, I should go back into the bank and then try to hit them up about a loan. Not really wanting to go to the point where they want to run my credit or nothing, but just fuck with them for like an hour. I go in there, I was gonna ask them like, yeah, do y'all do Bitcoin back lending? But I didn't want to say it exactly like that because they would have just been like, no. So I was like, yeah, I want to inquire about using collateral to, I wanted to buy land. I want to buy real estate, undeveloped land. And I have some collateral that I can put up against it to, help secure the loan. And they're like, oh, okay, like, here, let me get your information. And I give them the phone number. I give them the 641-614-8008 numbers. I'm hoping they call because it's $1 a minute. So I told the bank, yeah, go ahead and call me at that number. It'd be funny. It'd be fucking hilarious if the guy actually calls. And then I'm getting $1 a minute to talk to the dude from the bank about getting a loan on the fucking land. You know what I mean? That'd be hilarious. I don't think it's gonna go that far though. You know what I mean? But it'd be yeah, call me at my private line. The scammers don't even have that number yet. I'm gonna start saying that's my phone number like everywhere now. Like 641-614-8008. But no, I'm getting back on Uber probably about 20 minutes after you get out of here or whatever. Hang out with you for a little bit while, chilling with a friend, kind of. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. I mean, I can't live stream while I'm doing the Uber because the phone won't work. I can't keep up with it. But what I was gonna say is like somebody else popped in the room for a quick second. But anyway, looks like you're just the only one here now. The cool thing is, I was looking at it's kind of technically illegal to work 2 different places at once. If you're on the clock for 2 different places at once, it's technically illegal, right? But you can live stream yourself door dashing, right? So it's not illegal to do that because you're an independent contractor. Like, it's the same as if you were to live stream on more than one platform at once. YouTube can't do, DoorDash is paying you, and then YouTube might eventually ultimately pay me as well. You know what I mean? So one stream of revenue I could turn into 2 streams of revenue off of just doing the one thing and then videoing myself while I do it. You know what I mean? That's like, if I can get to that point, that'd be crazy. You know what I mean? But I could be sitting here, on like a slow day, and then still, have, if I get to the point where there's like 87 people in the chat or whatever, however many people are actually like watching, while I'm just spewing bullshit in between orders. You know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, it's not illegal to do that, which I think is kind of crazy to some extent, because yeah, I don't know. True. And then it's not illegal because there's a bunch of people doing it. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of people live streaming themselves either driving for Uber or door dashing already. If it was illegal, they'd have plenty of evidence to use against them in court. So yeah, you're an independent contractor for Uber. Like each order that comes through, it's a contract that you hit yes or no on. You know what I mean? But yeah, and it's the same thing with I don't know. It's like this, what they said. The only thing is just make sure you do your taxes on it. Anything that you're making income on, you're gonna have to claim on your taxes. But I still thought that was cool. I'm like, man, if I would have thought of that years ago, like, dude, I would have been driving for Uber like 4 or 5 years ago. I would have fucking been driving for Uber, DoorDash, and then just live streaming it, and then turning the one stream of revenue into 2 streams of revenue. Like, fuck, And then it's like a safety thing, man. Like, because then I got 15 people, whatever. Even if it's a small thing, there's 15 people are witnessing whatever it might happen. I'm walking up to the door to deliver something, and they decide to rob me, or the neighbors, or this, that, and the other, or I'm in a sketchy apartment complex. It's like an increase to your own safety. Dashboard confessionals. Did you ever check out those guys, Misfit Minds? The prankster dudes from Australia? Like, they're younger, so I mean, I get if you didn't like it, you know what I mean? They're younger dudes doing stupid pranks. But I just thought, I should tell you about it because you live in Australia, and they're trying to be Australia's biggest YouTube channel. They say, yeah, we're Australia's biggest YouTube channel. They're saying it before they actually are. You know what I mean? But they probably are at this point. Did you see the thing about a girl delivering Uber getting fired? Yeah. Dude, that girl, she's getting sued. She's looking at prison time or something, too. Because the guy, granted, yeah, it was disgusting, but it wasn't right for her to pull out her phone and then start recording the man from his own private residence. You know what I mean? And then, yeah, there's enough evidence that says, they show that she pushed the door open. You know what I mean? I think what happened is the dude ordered DoorDash. He was tired, and he pulled out he did the DoorDash, and then he flipped taps on his phone or whatever, and then he was watching some porn. He probably jacked off and fell asleep in his chair while waiting an hour and a half for his DoorDash to show up. You know what I mean? This is probably exactly what happened. And then, now the guy, he's criminalized for having his pants down in his chair in his house, like, fuck. Yeah, Misfit Minds, I would look up pouring shit beers, Misfit Minds, and then see which one it gives you first, because I think there's 3 different videos where they're pouring shit beers. But yeah, they're like a bartender, and then they give you a beer where, like, the whole beer is head, And like a Guinness is supposed to have a little bit of a head on it, It's supposed to have like a little 2-inch head on a Guinness, but they give you a glass of Guinness and there's like only this much of it. They're like, what the fuck? I'm not paying for that. He said, yes, you are. You're definitely gonna pay for that. He said, you don't pay for that, I'm gonna call the police. Yeah. Yeah, people that have been coming in the bar for like 20 years or something. Like, I know the owner. I'm gonna get you fired. You're gonna be fired. It's like, you'd be lucky if you have a job in another hour. My memory's awful. I get you, yeah. I agree. Naked on the couch. Pranks sound like my cup of tea. I'll check it out. I remember. Yeah, I bet we even talk about it. You know, they'll probably pop it. It'll pop up on your feed because we talked about it. It's weird. YouTube's weird like that. But he had. I don't know if you know who Angela White is, but she's an Australian porn star. Sorry. Anyway, but yeah, the one guy he goes to the porn convention and he's trying to meet Angela White, and he's got this sign and he's holding it up and he's like, Angela, it's Angela, spit in my mouth. I'm a virgin. You know, he's holding the sign up trying to get her to meet. Yeah, that's about it. That's what I thought too. I was like, you don't want to, like, I was like, yeah, I thought, like, can I squeeze one boob, or something, something more realistic. Like, fucking, like, give me any disease you have by spitting into my mouth, you porn star, please. But I think it was just for the video. But in the video, she actually did, like, spit into his mouth. It was part of, they made it part of the video. But yeah. Just hanging out, man. Like 4 minutes till 4 o'clock. But yeah, man. How have you seen girlfriend robot things on YouTube? No, I don't look at shit like that. I'm sure it's coming. Like, women have been fucking robots for, I want to say, about 30 or 40 years. If you think, look at a vibrator. Look at a vibrator the right way and tell me that's not really like a robot, technically. You know what I mean? But it's wrong when we do it. You know what I mean? But I don't think I'm really going to get into, like, fucking robots anyway. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's going to take a while before it's actually going to match the real thing. If you're going to be spending money and investing in, you might as well just try to find a woman that you can, find a woman that doesn't mind you touching her. Because, to some extent, they want to be touched too. You know what I mean? Just not all the time and treated like a piece of meat, But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked into that. I've seen some of the stuff where like the $10,000 dolls and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. There's countries you can go and you can get a wife for a goat. You know what I mean? Fucking, get you 2 goats and get them to breed, right? And then you have 10 goats, and then give three goats for the daughter. Make it worth their while. I think I saw something where 8 or 9 goats is considered a cow, or something like that. So you could even just get a cow. You know what I mean? I don't know. it's just crazy that's still a thing in the world today. So like if I wanted to, even probably today, like I could probably take $1,000 cash and buy goats with it, and then go trade the goats for a wife. You know what I mean? It's crazy, but it's still a thing. You know what I mean? I don't really plan on doing that. Hopefully, hopefully I can just find a woman that's okay. Wants to hang out. Like a certain level of freedom that you get. That you don't really even have. If that's the case. But then, yeah, at the same time, like, not only that, like, I gave the family 3 goats for their daughter, right? And then now their daughter's technically an American. You know what I mean? So she's got access to, it's a land access thing as well. You know what I mean? Sort of. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of the reason. The reason, you go to Thailand or like the Philippines, the reason they even think white people are attractive is because, like, oh, that's my ticket to America. Let me hump on this guy, and then, yeah, technically I'm half American after that, sort of. But I don't know. But yes, it was a thing, like there's a lot of World War II survivors came back with Japanese wives, or Korean wives, or whatever, you know what I mean? A lot of, not all of them, you know what I mean, but I don't know, it's just a part of the world. A lot of people want to move here. You know what I mean? They're willing to marry somebody they don't even know to move here. It's like, no, it's real, dude. The game, this is life. Fucking, I can eat a board. I can eat a Monopoly board and shit out Connect Four. Don't ask me how. But yeah, it's like pretty much, like our generation, man. I don't know, John. I don't know how young you are, but like our generation, it's like playing the game of Monopoly. But right, but we're starting after everybody. Like there's 4 other players that were ahead of us. We're gonna be player 4, and we're gonna be player 5 and 6, and the 4 other players, they went around the board 10 times already. And then us as player 5 and 6, we're trying to join the game of Monopoly now, and everywhere we go, we're just having to fucking pay rent everywhere we land. Nothing's even available to buy. It's pretty much, that's our generation. Gosh, man. Yeah, I'm hoping, I want a good one, Hopefully I get like one more. I get one more that's $20, and then boom, that's it. I'll call that a day. Yeah. I'd rather get one that's 20 than fucking 4 that are 7. But yeah, see, that's a pretty good analogy. I can't say that I made that up. I heard it from somebody else. But he's like, yeah, our life, it's like playing a game of Monopoly, but we started like 10 rounds late. I was like, wow. I'm like, that is it. That is it, 100%. Because it's just funny how, like, they got land, like how a house is priced at exactly 30 years of our life, you know. Unless you work hard and you pay it off in maybe half the time or something. If you're willing to work hard enough and devote that much of your income into paying off your house faster, But like I was saying earlier, it's like between the amount of money that we make and then how much that housing costs and the food cost and then having an automobile at the same time, you could work a 40-hour week and then come out negative on it, you know Like, work a 40-hour weekend, and by the time you pay all your bills, you had to use a credit card to finish paying off your bills. It's sick. And then, like, I don't know what's the real difference between that and then you already left. I didn't even get to the point. I'm sorry. Everybody's talking at the Jaggalo Bob. And pour me a cup where the Juggalos rock. And finger popping off the coffin top. It shows me zero. It shows me zero when there's somebody actually watching. I don't know why. I don't know. It's been doing that. I don't know. I mean, I understand if you want to leave. I'm not the most interesting man in the world. I don't even drink Dos Sakis. You know what I mean? I probably should. It'd probably help me out. It might maybe I get like 1/10 of a point on the sexual market. So my sexual market value might go up a little bit because I drink Dos Sakis. He only eats blue Takis and drinks Dos Sakis. He is the most Florida man in the world. You gotta check that out if you haven't seen it. There's like a whole bunch, like the most boomer man in the world, the most Gen X man in the world, the most millennial man in the world, the most Florida man in the world. This whole thing on YouTube. They're funny. The Florida man ones are great because at the beginning they say this is all real headlines from actual Florida newspapers. It's like Florida man is arrested for feeding his pet gators or something. There's one where it's like a Florida man and his dog, and it's a dude with a mullet, wearing a tank top and a button up overall, and he's like, and his dog's like, it's an alligator, but it's like a pit bull. It's like this red-nosed pit. It's an alligator. It's like over alligators. The funniest thing. This is Florida man and his dog. Yeah. Nah, this ain't as sad as it gets, dude. Like, fuck, you gotta look around what people in fucking second, third, fourth world countries are doing. And fuck, there's still people poisoning each other with blow darts and shit. And this ain't as sad as it can be. Yeah, fucking cannibalistic tribes killing each other, eating each other and shit. That's pretty sad. Like, it's 2026, bro. Like, are you really gonna eat your neighbor? You're really gonna eat? You're like, you understand y'all were at war, so you killed him, but are you really gonna cook him and then eat him? Like, fuck, really? It's 2026, bro. I hope so too, man. He has been, for the most part. He's kept me safe since September so far. That's the real struggle, is like not really being homeless. It's everybody else that's homeless that you have to watch. You know what I mean? That's what makes it unsafe to be on the streets, is all the people that are living on the street. But yeah, try not to intermix with crackheads and meth heads and people that are snorting fentanyl and all that anyway. You know what I mean? And then I don't like sharing my pipe. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I feel like if you got your own bowl and I've got more than an eighth of weed, I might fill up your bowl. But I don't want to be, since COVID, I don't want to be passing joints with people, or heaven forbid it's a joint that they rolled and they done made out with the son of a bitch. You know what I mean? And then I'm not really wanting to share a bowl with a person. This is personal. This is like, might as well be a toothbrush almost. As much as you play with it and everything. But yeah, I'm not trying to like pass my pipe. But if I got enough weed and you have your own utensil, I can fill it. I'm not gonna be a dick like that. You know what I mean? Especially if, like, you know, say you haven't smoked all day, you just need like 2 puffs. Can you fill up my little one hitter? I'm not gonna tell you get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? But you can't look like a fucking meth head either. You know what I mean? Because I'm not gonna converse with you. You know, like, basically, you know what I mean? This is real. This is trying to be real with people. You know, if you look like, if you got dreads, but it looks like you wash your hair at the same time, fuck, I'll give you a bowl. You know. But yeah, if you got like fucking 15 scabs all over your face and shit, and you're skinnier than a fucking crow, then yeah, I'm not giving you nothing, bro. Sorry. Yeah. Right now I'm just hanging out. Like, I live in the car, so I'm just hanging out, talking to y'all. Waiting to get back and log on to Uber. The area that I'm at, it's like there's dead times of day, so it's pretty much dead between like 1 and 4 o'clock where I'm at, and so there's just no reason to be logged on. And then there's like one order that'll be like bullshit you just reject anyway. You know what I mean? So I'll just be offline. Yeah, it picks up about 5 till 10 is like the hot part of the day. You get a couple during lunch, but there's not even really enough during lunch that you can call it a lunch rush. Just, if you happen to log on before 11 a.m. and, you log on before 11 a.m., catch like 2, maybe 3 orders, and then it's dead until 5, or you can just wait and then start at 5, kind of sort, you know what I mean? But if I do the lunch rush, I at least make gas for the day before the dinner rush even starts. And then whatever the dinner rush is like my actual profit, or whatever, after beating up the car past oil use. Try stream sniping. I've done that. Like, I gotta go to a smaller channel where my message sits there for a second. You know what I mean? If it's a channel where there's 500 people all chatting, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what you say. Nothing's gonna get, he's only gonna, they're only gonna read the green and blue people's talking. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's kind of, there's ethics about it. Like, it's kind of unethical, or I'm not using the right word. You know what I mean? But ethics don't really exist on the internet either way. You know what I mean? And there's ways you do it and you're not an asshole about it. You're just saying like, hey, y'all should come check, who's ever into, I'm a homeless Uber driver. If y'all want to, help me out, come check out my channels. Spend 2 minutes on my channel, and if you want to subscribe, and you did that like one time, you didn't spam their fucking channel, I don't know. There's one, yeah, if you're trying to like spread the word of yourself, you know what I mean? Because you have, like every YouTuber self-promotes. You know what I mean? You can't get mad at somebody for self-promoting if you in your video say, hey, please like and subscribe, because you're self-promoting. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's kind of like, even YouTube itself has rules against it. Like, you can't go into someone else's chat and be like streaming, if the two of you even agree in words like, hey, I'll sub to you, will you sub me back? If the two of you even say that, you can fuck both of your channels up. You know what I mean? But yeah, like, I do to some extent, and I've got a pretty good viewer out of doing it. You know what I mean? But it's like that 1 in a million that doesn't see you like an asshole for doing it in the first place. You know what I mean? So it's better just do your own thing and let the algorithm try to find an audience, because the audience, they try to find an audience for your videos. You know what I mean? They try to put your videos in front of people that are like looking, people that want to see what's going on, or figure out what's, put themselves in someone else's shoes, someone else's situation, people that like to tune out, this is what they tune out to, so they try to find, they try to put the videos in front of an audience that is looking for your stuff. You know what I mean? So part of it, you can fuck your channel up to even say you've got friends, friends in real life, and you tell them to subscribe, because hell, it's another 8 subscribers. But the stuff that they watch, let's say it's like car stuff, they watch car stuff, and say they watch gaming stuff, so they subscribe to your channel, it'll start to put your channel in front of people that are into car stuff, and then they'll see your stuff, and it has nothing to do with cars, and then you'll get a dislike. You know what I mean? And the dislikes, man, they really fuck up your channel. Like, you know what I mean? Because somebody takes, I don't dislike anything. Not even because I just don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't like a whole lot of stuff either. You know what I mean? Because it creates like a whole other private playlist of all the videos that you've liked. You know what I mean? And everything that you liked gets saved in this one playlist, and you know what I mean? So I don't try to give thumbs up to like everything. But I don't think I've ever given like anything a thumbs down, except for this one lady. Her name is Lindsay Unfiltered, but she's just a fucking Karen. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't even want to see. I'm so sick of seeing this bitch come up in my feed. I was like, I hit like I'm not interested 6 or 7 times, and I finally got to the point. I found out how to, hide my, I don't know. But anyway, yeah. Like, oh, that's the only thing I've ever hit dislike on, was hearing that bitch talk about some bullshit, while she's making like $100,000 on each video that she posts, talking about how, like, oh yeah, these people on food stamps, da da da, and the people on food stamps, they're just some nasty people on food stamps. I'll tell you what, it's like, and then you're making a video making 50K off the people that view your shit, you know what I mean? That's why I was like, yeah, I don't even want to see this bitch. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not even trying to be like fake real either. I'm just, you know what I mean? Just trying to be intimate, because well, not intimate. Like, I'm not, hey, big boy. You know what I mean? But I'm trying. I feel like, because I have 2 different types of format on my channel, sort of. Like the live stream's more like an intimate. Me. We're kind of having a one-on-one conversation. There's other people hanging out with us too, watching and listening. But you know what I mean? There's, the chat's not going crazy. It's pretty much like a one-on-one conversation. I'm bouncing off of what you're saying. You're giving me a wall to bounce back off of. You know what I mean? And then the long format videos that I make, they're pretty much just, my adventure through the day. You know what I mean? Some people check them out. And then I'm hoping to make it to 100 episodes on the series that I'm making right now. And then when I finish that series, I'm probably going to do another 100 episode series of something, put all the video, bunch them all together in one playlist, I don't know, just for people that are into that. Hey, how you doing, Roland? But yeah, I feel like, people that find my channel later, and they'll go back and watch all 100 episodes of the Chronicles. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking the next series, I'm thinking about calling it The Escape from a Ford Escape. Because I'm thinking about getting a Ford, part of, just to go with, for the videos. If I can find a Ford Escape for like maybe $2,000, I might even do it. You know what I mean? Because by the time I live in the Ford Escape for 2 months, it'll pay itself off. You know what I mean? So I could literally make 2 months of videos out of living in the Ford Escape and just calling it The Escape from a Ford Escape. But I need to time it just right, because I'm planning on buying land. You know what I mean? So I want to time it just right. If I do it that way, the escape from a Ford Escape, and then at the end of the 100, on episode 100, would be like me sticking a shovel into the ground on my own land. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think it'd be a funny series too. Because you see the title, if you saw the title, The Escape from a Ford Escape, episode 22, you know what I mean? You're like, what the fuck is this? You would kind of know just from reading the title too. You'd be like, oh, it's a guy living in his car. Aw. It's like, yeah, I won't, man. Because I figured, like, I do enjoy making the videos too. You know what I mean? They're fun. They're fun recording it. They're fun. Other people that are watching me with my phone out, and they're like, what the fuck is that guy doing? And then they see the YouTube on the back window, and then, some of them that probably do check me out, they're like, oh, this guy's a nobody. You know what I mean? If I actually do turn into something off of it, that'd be crazy, dude. You know what I mean? But that's the thing, is like my channel is still so small at this point that it just looks like a fucking skid mark on the map, you know. But yeah, I feel like once I break 1,000, it'll look a little bit more. You're like, oh, this is a real channel. It's just new, you know. Like the algorithm doesn't like him, you know. But yeah, I think you see, I'm a pretty real person, and I'm gonna try my best to not let the money change me if I do get to the point, you know, because I'm not gonna make money to where I can quit my job on just like 20K subscribers, you know what I mean? You know, it's just more of like it'd be another side hustle kind of thing. I can make a couple videos a month, and it makes another $100. You know, it's another $100 that I put towards my savings for retiring. You know what I mean? And then with YouTube, I don't actually plan on retiring. You know what I mean? Like I could, you know, clock out from the retail job and then still be making videos. You know what I mean? And they say, you know, find a job like that where you like it's a job like you can find a job you actually enjoy doing. You know, and I get to the point where like I don't even want to retire. You know, not even because I'm making a shitload of money. I don't want to retire from this. This is fun. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of the way work was it was for a little bit, some of us. But yeah, I don't know. Yes, she wears stuff. No, doing that. Yeah. But yeah, like I'm trying to be like I'm a higher volume, or I guess I'm more like because I'm trying to like fill the dead air. I'm not trying to just let there be dead air. You know what I mean? I'm trying to like converse. So this is like more of an amplified version of me. You know what I mean? It's not, you know, I'd be more just relaxed and quiet. You know what I mean? If I wasn't like live streaming and trying to like put my character up on, you know what I mean? I'm trying to turn, you know, my character normally is at like a level 2. You know, it's probably about like a level. This is like me at a 7 maybe right now. You know, because I'm not singing to you. You know what I mean? But I kind of am. You know, I'm spitting some blues. If I had a fucking guitar, and I was ripping out a good G chord. But at the same time, it's not blues either, man. It's just life. That's fucking really what brought me here is relationship problems. You know, like I'm so low income that I can't not depend on a woman. You know, or just at least another, 2 incomes to build a house. You know what I mean? And so I was building with this one girl in particular, and for like last 9-10 years, I talked her into buying a house because it was cheaper to buy a house than to keep paying rent. And then the place we were renting was like a 2-car garage that somebody modified. You know, so 2-car garage that was insulated. You know, and so I was like, we could just get a whole house. I'm like, we can get like at least double the space, and it would be cheaper than the rent that we're currently paying. You know, so I talked her into doing it, and then we went and ran our credit. I was on the job longer, but somehow my credit wasn't good enough to do it. Hers was, you know, and it should have been more job history. But anyway, they did the line in her name. My name wasn't on it, and then so when things blew up, she wanted to be hold that over my head, basically, you know, or your name's not even actually on the house. You're gone. You know what I mean? Which was kind of fucked up because I wouldn't have done that to her. You know what I mean? I would have let her hang out till she had like a place to go at least. I wouldn't have just thrown her fucking to the wind. You know, it's just I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, it's showing me that I have 0 views. And yeah, it's been about 3 hours I've been live streaming. I'm gonna log back into the Uber app now and try to make another $25 on a day. You know, I got 27 so far. And then Bitcoin is having a red day today, so it's a good day to buy. I feel like. Yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, another $50 worth of Bitcoin would be sweet today. already ate lunch, and I need to get a drink. So, I figure this is probably it. I'll have a good one. If anybody is watching, it's still showing me that nobody's watching right now. But